Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Rocky Outcrop, and I'm going to be taking a look at Bitcoin live with you right here, right now. And we will be taking a look at Chainlink, Tezos, and Ethereum as we do all the time on the show. And we are currently up there at $36,000, going live right now at the time with the most recent of all-time highs on the Bitcoin prices. Lovely jubbly. The high today, $36,050. The low today, $33,348. Putting in a big kind of percentage range for us in terms of trading recently with regards to Bitcoin. This is the 15-minute chart that I have up currently, and I just wanted to show you that just in the last wee while we're as high as 35,834 and then dropped down to 34,358 before cranking back up towards 36,004. And it's no wonder then that you see this white background on the DMI showing us that there's bound to be some volatility coming in just before we saw that happen, with the prices going all the way down and then back up to where they started at. Yeah, Corn Hunter, good to see you. Zoner, nice to see you. Ventilus, good to see you. Jason, and let's see what you've been saying. What's up, Rocky? Thanks for the TA as always, mate. You're welcome. Uppers, it's quality to be here. I'm very happy to be doing the TA. Fantastic. Hey, and Rocky and stuff like that. That's quality. Nice to see everybody dead happy. And ETH is at $1,200. And we'll also be looking at that in today's show. Of course, jumping on over to that Ethereum chart right now so you can see it. Now, of course, it has been doing similar things here on this 15-minute price time frame. Whoops. Got my Fibonacci in the wrong place there, evidently. Well, that's because I drew it in the past and I've not updated this chart. I could just hide it. So there we go. That's better. Problem solved. And yeah, so in the last 15 minutes, we've seen it drop down. It was at highs of 1,200 and whatever, 6, 7, and then it dropped down to 1,115 before jumping back up towards the $1,200 level where we find ourselves currently. And that's obviously big stuff in terms of percentages. You know, that was 7.5% off the price, just a rapid discount for people before adding another 6.7% or so, or 6.5% back onto the price again, you know, giving you that volatility there. And this is what the 15-minute charts are looking like across the board, really. Not this shape, but we're seeing a lot of movement. If I just jump on over to some other examples for us, I mean, we've got the Link USDT chart here, or do we? Yes, we do, and we're seeing this movement here in the last wee while. We've got the, and of course, lots of trading to be had here. Highs so far today up there at 275, and then lows in there at 248, and trading up in between. It's nice, in fact, to have had that day in between episodes. You know, we did an episode, last stream was on Monday, and then here we are back on Wednesday, and so much has changed that it's so unusual for me to be in this position where, of course, things change on a daily basis normally, but I mean, and it's just, what a difference a day makes, eh? What a difference a day makes. It's good to have me back here in the house, though, I'm sure, so that we can take a look at stuff. Now, we've had this happen in the whole of the markets. Looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart, and you see, of course, that happened at the same time as well, you know. So while we had this drop down in Bitcoin pricing and a movement up the way, then, you know, we saw the same thing happening on the Bitcoin dominance chart. Or that's the CME's. Whoops, sorry. We saw, this is the Bitcoin dominance chart. We didn't see that happen. We didn't see that happen on the Bitcoin dominance chart. We saw this point of differentiation here, where we dropped down, came in and put in these lows. Now that was down there at 68. And now this is the 15-minute time frame. Looking over towards the left here, you can see on the 4th of January at 6:45 a.m. that we were down here at those lows again. Sprung straight back up and then sank back down the way. Then we sprung up and sank down here over the long period of time. Now we're seeing something that looks more or less the same. Well, let's just be honest. It looks more or less the same as the feature that we see over there on the charts, on the Bitcoin dominance chart. Oopsie, where we drop down, put in a V, drop down, put in a V, drop down, and we're putting in a V here as well so far, and seeing that altcoins are doing something to kind of claw back some of that value versus the Bitcoin pricing in this total chart as we put in all-time highs, and of course the all-time highs are reflected here on the total chart as well as being all-time highs. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the case. Quite a big chunk, obviously, a couple $100 billion, actually kind of coming up close to that trillion point. Did we make it to a trillion? There's something interesting, I suppose. So we made it to 1,000 billion, or if you like, a trillion if you're from the States. So how quality is that? How quality is that? In fact, it's not even, if you're from the UK, it's not 1,000 trillion, it's actually just made it to a billion in terms of UK old-fashioned numbers. But in terms of the world, yes, sure, made it to a trillion, touched that, give it a wee kick, and then pushed straight away off of that again. I wonder if people were looking at that at the time. Now we're coming up again and trying it again. $1,205 on Ethereum, 36,350 on Bitcoin, as you can see on the ticker that's just over there on your screens. So fan-dabby-dozy, lots and lots to work through in today's episode. Let me dive over to the Bitcoin chart again. Sorry, and let's just, there we have her. And that's the weekly. Let's just go to the 15-minute chart and zoom on out. Hit the auto button, in fact. Auto. Lovely. Now, this whole chat that we've had recently still remains the case. Now, what you'll have noticed since we spoke last, if you just permit me to put this up towards the 24-hour time frame, in fact, instead, you'll see the ticker and everything up there at the top of the screen if you're just new to the channel and you're looking to how the format here works. It's a nice, relaxed atmosphere normally here as we look at the charts. We never experience FOMO, so we don't need to panic about things, even as we're looking at the all-time highs. Let's plop this right in here where we are now and speculate that maybe that price mark that we saw just a few seconds ago at 36,000. Let me use the anchor. I've got the anchor on, so this will make this somewhat easier. At 36,250 on this particular chart, let's speculate that that's the high for just now. What would we have to be aware of in terms of pullbacks? And you can see here the structure of the thing showing us. It's not that dissimilar story to what we've been talking about recently. So, you know, for the subscribers and regulars back at the show here, forgive me for more or less repeating myself here, but the same story exists. And that is, of course, that if we stay above the 236 over here, then we're not really overall doing anything major. But we see that the confluences are kind of still there as well, but slightly different to how they were last time. But, you know, you're looking in terms of market structure, that this is where our last lows were in terms of body closes. So, you know, that makes all perfect sense right now from a speculative point of view, that somewhere in and around this region would be doing a couple of things at once. Now, if we do stretch on up the way, then of course that continues up, yada yada. But we can always look back at this in terms of market structure or whatever and say, so long as we're above this line here overall at roughly 32,220, that we're doing okay. We haven't broken things. In the last episode, what were we talking about in terms of important price action points to be aware of? And I jumped down towards the 4-hour time frame. We'll be able to have a quick examination of that area. And what do we see now, of course, as well with this 236? It lines up with what I was talking about last time. Decent closes up above 34,000 here. So sorry, 32,000. Then that is what we, that's what we needed to do, and that's what we did, and we consolidated below here, and we put in various different patterns. I mean, you could look at this in a number of different ways, but we consolidated in amongst this zone here, and we rose up. We didn't get the closes in at that point that we were looking for, opens and closes up above it. But then looking over to the right, in terms of this hourly time frame, you can see that we very much did then when we came back up above it on the 5th of January there, and rose up towards the top side since. So that 32,000 area that we spoke about and how crucial it was, yet again showing us that that we chose the right number, right? So then we were able to long that towards the top side if we so desired, and then bring it on up towards where we are now. And now we're looking back at that point, and that's our inflection zone for us if we're going to be like continuing to, keep the party going. Now, does that mean that we can't see pullbacks and whatever else we can? Let's bear in mind again that we just saw a 7% pullback in the space of a less than 15-minute candle and whatever. To go down towards that 236 line is an 11% pullback. So is it possible to do it? Yes, it is. Could it happen? Yes, it could. When it happened, could it potentially happen very quickly? Yes, it could. We're in that zone as we can kind of feel that while we've experienced bigger numbers shift in terms of percentage, in terms of the volatility, that right now we're seeing we're seeing high numbers in terms of the percentage of the volatility. Well, that's obviously coupled with a somewhat unfamiliar proportionate absolute dollar value change over here, where we're looking at things like a 10% move in the prices being $3,500, and it's like ridiculous, absolute value numbers. And so just going for a 7% dander down in prices knocks, a couple of grand off the prices, and that can happen quite suddenly. Right, cool. That's the current situation. Things are going well. We're above the 21 EMA, on the 1 hour. Over here in the 2 hour, we're going to be above it on all of them. Obviously, that fact that we're putting in all-time highs. But just to see how we've been lining up with it along the way. On the lower time frames, we're getting touches back onto it. On the bigger time frames, we're not seeing those touches coming in. Switching up on these things, going back to the atomic numbers that we've been using recently, though, if we're looking at this on the 24-hour time frame, then maybe we'll get a little bit of a better insight by having these ones on and stick the whole complement on, shall I? And what we can see here is that we have had touches along the way on the 8-period exponential moving average on the 24-hour time frame. Regularly get those ones, and of course we've managed to stay above it in terms of the 18-period. Now, we're not necessarily as well even just looking at these just strictly in terms of support and resistance, support or resistance levels. Now, you can with your moving averages, and of course that's something that a lot of people will be looking to, so it's a good area and a good idea to do that, especially when you combine it with other factors so you get some confluence in there at those levels. But what we're really, what we can say here is that on all of the time frames we've got this distinct upward slope. That's very clear that they're all laid out in the with the shorter time frames being above the other ones, and you can see it's all nice chunk all the way down there, all looking pretty good. The 50-period exponential moving average comes in down there at 22,500, and that still remains an area where we could see a pullback too if we were to have one of those catastrophic ones for a lot of people, the majority of the sort of entrance into the market, as you'd be looking at the 37% pullback now lining up as a result of these most latest highs that we put in with where we find the 50-period moving average at the simple moving average. And we've not tested that since all the way back over here in October, just when we cracked up above it, in fact, and we've never looked back since. So could we? Yes, we could. There's various areas for that, but of course, that's just a brief summary, really, more or less, of where we are. If I just remove this upward sloping support line, because that's kind of more or less redundant in there, and hide off all the drawings so you don't have too many distractions on the screen, and pop the bolly wallies back on again so you can see more or less where we're looking at. What we're looking at here is that, again, tracing this towards the top side, everything looking dandy. Now, in the larger time frames, of course, we're starting to see, and this is going to continue until such times as things change, that we're really just bounding around outside of them. This is the 3-day time frame. Obviously, you get this incremental sort of look at things going up from the 2-day, where you see that this is just super healthy and everything else. Looking up the way, everything looking pretty good. But then you get to the weekly time frame. Where are we now? Well, as a result of all the recent price action over the period of the last week, we can see that we've come back down fully into this area and tested the Bollinger Band, and everything's fine. So that remains incredibly bullish stance on that one. And the monthly time frame, how have we done with regards to that? Well, we haven't actually pulled back down the way. We have gone for, of course, this Bollinger Band continues to get pulled up the way. It is, of course, a calculation of 2 standard deviation points away from the 20 simple period moving average, which is this white basis line here in the middle of the Bollinger Bands. So as this continues to slope up the way, it's taken the calculation for it taken from the most recent market price, because this candle has not yet closed, then this will of course continue to stretch up the way as well, especially should these things push that standard deviation wider, i.e. the expansion of the Bollinger Bands that you're seeing overall here. So we're seeing this distinct and incredible expansion on the Bollinger Bands. And if I just want to show you this by dragging it up the way, just in terms of where on the chart does the lower area of the Bollinger Band come in at, right? Now, I know this is impossible to get to in terms of price action, right? But what you're looking at there is minus $3,195. So that's quite incredible. Now, if I want to just show you then for some context, I'll go on to the Bitstamp chart. It's got a bit more history on it. We have seen events, of course, like this in the past. It's not completely unusual, but this, of course, is not your standard indicator. But let me just draw. This is quite hilarious. I don't think you'll ever see anybody else talking about this anywhere in the world, but just because you can't see it in amongst the price action at the top there, can you really? But you can see in terms of this, the massive drop off. If we stick it on linear, it's even worse, by the way. So in terms of logarithmic, you can see the massive drop off that we've got down here. Now, we've had periods in the past where we've been at this area, such as over there, over here, as you can see, and then over here right now. And if I just draw in from like that area and look to the left, you can see it isn't actually, you know, it's actually come just lower than the previous one, or just right on it. Is it right on it? Again, just for clarity, for people, don't try this at home, kids. This is not from your textbook of technical analysis, but I wanted to point out, I wanted to find a way of showing you where we are right now in the market, not screaming bearish or bullish or anything at you in particular, nothing at all. I just want to show you like the terms of market, the structure, and movements away from that 20 period moving average in terms of the Bollinger Bands on the monthly time frame. Where does that put us in terms of the expansion towards the downside? Where does it? And we can see in terms of the upside, it's up there, all up there, that's gravy. And then in terms of the downside, where does it put us? And just looking back the way, you can see we've had various highs in the markets when we've been at this point here and it started to turn around. Okay, again, this is not your typical indicator, yada yada. Don't be writing in the comments what you just talked about and trying to explain this back to me as if I don't know what I'm doing, because I'm aware of it. I'm just giving people context here. This is what we're looking at. So anyway, we're right down there and we're coming up to, we're not quite yet at, but we're coming up to the all-time lows in terms of these Bollinger Band expansion there, and that puts us down there if you were to look at this towards the negative side, just shy of $5,000 would be, you know, more than enough in terms of the Bollinger Band retracement down there for us. Okay, let me just get this back into a world that makes sense again for folk. But it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, if you want to see the same thing, you can obviously see the same sort of structure here in terms of what we're looking at on the weekly time frame. Now, what we're seeing as well is that we're not in one of those periods where we've had the extreme blow-offs like we had in the previous two. So, you know, if you're going to look for something bullish, you know, in terms of this here type of analysis of things, which I know what it is, and the flaws with it. Lol. That you know, we're a ways away from that potentially still, even though it's very extreme. Okay. But looking back the way in terms of like what we saw in the run-ups to these things, I'll go to the monthly chart again for this. What we see is that in the period, you know, running up, there are pullbacks during these monthly periods. You know, of course, there are pullbacks within all of these. This is the same story. This is just another analog of the same story I've been telling people for quite a while. Okay, this is how we have to operate now. All of these weekly candles with their 30% pullbacks, yada yada, all the same stuff. I mean, if you've watched Crown, for instance, it's the sort of thing that he talks about all the time, or he's certainly used to, and etc. It's all this sort of stuff. We all know it. It's like it's out there. This information is very much out there. In terms of the pullbacks, etc. Now, what we've had here is nice 4 consecutive green candles here in the monthly time frame. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You know, we do it in the past where we've had candles which have come in. Now this is the monthly time frame. This is the pullbacks, and those candles are pullbacks during a month. So what we could see, of course, is like, you know, the problem being if we did have one of these candles that it happens, you know, and it kind of messes up the whole month calendar for us. So I'd be looking out for that. It could be not so much the trend reversal necessarily, but a phase in the market that could be exploited by people who are sort of nimble enough to react on time to it. Again, 36% measuring between those two. Now, when does it change? Looking back here, this is all, by the way, the previous all-time highs that I'm looking at. You know, you get a pullback. Maybe it's a bit bigger than the previous ones, whatever, but you get a pullback, and what you see is then it actually closes below the next month, that go down below that 28,690 level or so, where we find ourselves now, having done this shoot up the way in January without ever looking back. Then we get to the problems where we're looking at severe issues with regards to the market structure. However, that remains on a percentage pullback basis within, you know, it's healthy enough moves. And this is the logarithmic chart, which gives you the opportunity to compare the size of these candles with regards to, in terms of their percentage change value. So looking back the way, you can see this like big move up and big moves up and whatever. In terms of percentage moves, much greater than what we've seen during this month whilst we've been putting in all-time highs, etc. along the way. So we've had, that's a dynamic for us with this decreased volume as it happens so far, but we're very, very early into the month of January, and of course, that's fair enough. We don't have a wick at the top of this candle at all either as well, what with the virtue of the fact that this is currently, all-time high situation, 36,355 right now, current Bitcoin price. So, that's where we are. Could we see stuff like that happen? Yes, we could. Percentage-wise is, well, we know by looking at the candle size, the bodies of these candles here alone, that percentage-wise is even just taking out this one candle, wouldn't be the massive turnaround or even necessarily satisfy any sort of 1/3 pullback that we're used to. If we do see that happen though, it kind of gets to the point where you start asking, are we breaking some sort of structure, which is not obviously what ideal to have happen in the weekly time frame. That sort of thing would have happened had we broken down past the 8-period exponential moving average. That's can't. It's just the internet's just not going so good right now. With regards to the comments with that it's lagging, then I apologise for that. It's just the way the internet is at the minute. I'd hoped that it would just kind of start working, but whatevs, here we have it. I'm going to just check in with the chat though real quick anyway and let you all catch up. I think that's enough of the sort of sideways different angle look at the markets. We're up here at all-time highs. If you're looking for somebody to tell you exactly where to get out of trades at or whatever to take profit on them, then I can just easily enough refer back to the targets that we've spoken about in the past recently, such as of course the 37,500 area being your side. If I just want to draw on some other targets to make it sort of more palatable or digestible or whatever, the 1272 if you're looking at the Fibonacci between the highs on the 3rd of January and that pullback there on the 4th of January, so this is most recent of pullbacks here. This is the 4-hour time frame. If you're looking at this and you're saying where, well, two things really. I mean, if you're looking at this, no, whatever. If you're looking at this and you're saying where's our next targets, having gone past the 100% area and very close to that 36,866 level, that is going to be your first one, 36,800. The next one after that, 38,000. 36,800, 38,000, and then 39,782, and that actually carries you all the way up towards 40,000 essentially. That's what you're looking at in terms of your next 3 targets off the back of just this movement and pushing on up the way. In terms of like how can we make assertions like that in the market? Just that people know that this is kind of not born out of randomness. I already kind of labeled the Fibonacci that we were talking about there, which I think is really necessary and something that most people don't really kind of bother with when they're talking about them. But here's another one, and if you take it in from the 27th of December high down towards the down to the low on the 27th of December, indeed, is this wick lower, or is it equal? No, it's down. I didn't take it the full way. Then scroll up and ask, where did we see the turnarounds happen at? Well, when we saw this turnaround here on the 31st of December, with this, the next high up, the next significant leg up that we did, we saw that come in on the 1272, and then the pullback that we saw thereafter. Now, this is not a case of me trying to say that history repeats itself, etc. Was 5%. Now, we had a 5% pullback just in the space of this candle in the last wee while, so we've kind of done some of that at the minute, we're already up, and right on the 3618 as well. So you can see how all this ties together, and that you choose select points or whatever to make your to sort of state your case from. And they need to be significant ones. Now, this is a less significant one, obviously, but I did mention how it came into play because of this. And you can see this doesn't really work at all, this one. And that's why it'd be folly to be looking between the highs of the 31st of December and down toward those lows on the 20th of December in terms of making these decisions. And we can see that that's also undermined, especially from this point of view where we're already in this period of time here. And we look at this wick that took out that one over there as well. So that's not an area. Instead, you're looking between these ones here and scrolling up. So we know that that's what we're looking to, and that comes in there at 37,000. So if we see a pullback, at the 1272, that wouldn't be a surprise at all. That ties up nicely, and it ties up with exactly what we're seeing over here with this with this dinky one here, with having already kind of achieved it. So it's these zones that we're looking at, and one of the ways that we came to kind of coming up with a number before was looking at 37,500 as being it. Cool, nice one. So that's everything that we need to know right now. I've spoken about all the downside, how you'd have dangers at various different ways of looking at them, and where the targets towards the top side would be, and well, just as sort of general summary point, I suppose, so long as we stay above the 35,800 area, you know, where we were pushing up before, if we keep pushing up that, keep above that area, and we look over to the left and see that there's a clear sort of point here with these wicks and then this body turnaround, stay above that zone in terms of the 15 minutes, that's looking good. And I'll stick a horizontal on there, and then I'll jump up to the 1 hour just so that you can have your sort of summary. So that's the line to be staying above right now in terms of where we are right now. In terms of the last trough to peak Fibonacci, you can see then, of course, it's of absolutely no coincidence that that lines up there at 35,887. I didn't know it would when I drew that on. It's just, it's not a coincidence. You always find degrees of confluence. So that's just an example, and that's one of the reasons why I showed that on there, because it's a nice visual demonstration of that. In terms of the 1 hour time frame, you can see that we've obviously come down here and retested that zone in the last hour, you know, in this period of volatility. Current price is 36,229. So yeah, and then we've kind of found our feet above it again, you know, and at the top end of the Bollinger Band, etc., etc. So degree of stuff happening here. If we do close down below those areas, you talk about a move away from the top of the Bollinger Band, etc. Various targets come into play. I suppose 35.4 would be the next one. 35. Let's just call it 35 because there's so much noise in there that it'd be 35 would be the next one after that. And we already know from recent experience that it can go beyond that towards the downside. And if there's any sort of pattern playing out at the minute, then perhaps in terms of the smaller time frame, we can start to look towards this zone here. You know, we had this kind of W effort which played out, and we got our full measured move off the back of that. My God, I mean, you could just keep going. I could talk about TA all day, which is kind of the problem. That comes up to our red line. That's not a coincidence again. So there's like sort of hammering home the importance of that area. It wouldn't surprise me much if we did far more than that as well. But this is just, so I leave that on. Let's leave that on for the chat because that's what we do. Now let's catch up with the chat here for a few minutes. Currently signed out. It says I'm signed out of YouTube, but I'm streaming live. I hope I'm actually still there. YouTube is asking me to verify that it's me, so that's frustrating. Let me just verify that I am who I am, as I am, sat here streaming live to people. How frustrating. Enter the last password. Right, I've done this about 50 times recently. I wonder if people are trying to hack my account. Wouldn't be surprised, given that I'm a crypto technical analyst and that people would therefore want to, fuck you making me sign in and get a verification code as well. Jeepers creepers. All just so I can chat with you. All just so I can just tune into the chat. I have to go in and verify that it's me. Oh, funnily enough, now Google wants me to verify that it's me to log into my email to how frustrating do you want to be? Like, how seriously frustrating do you want to be? You can come with me on this journey since it's so frustrating. Yeah. Yep, got my phone with me right here. Oh, FFS. Oh, I can't show you that part of the journey, I'm afraid. How frustrating. Look, I can read the chat, but I can't chat in the chat. That's fine. Skip it. I'll have to just verify that I'm me after I've finished being me live on screen through Gmail, YouTube, Google's own platform. Thanks very much for that. Anyway, cool. Right, I just have to read this off my other monitor. Link melted my face today, looking like a Skeletor now. Skeletor now. Skeletor, so whatever. You have the power, says K-Talk. It's getting these He-Man references in here. I'll get on that in 2 ticks. Hi, John, didn't realise you had your own channel. Found it a day or 2 ago and subbed. It's Winky Face, that's quality. Nice one. Thanks, John. We'll be busier on there soon. Yeah, we'll be busier on there soon. Astella, Snix, Ada, give me big gains last few days. Absolutely, they've been flying. National Guard on the way. I'm just going to skip through this a wee bit actually, so I can get down a bit, because I can see we've got Jambo UK number 1 here. Check the WISE chart number 6 on Uniswap. Well, that's an interesting idea. Jambo UK number 1. Good to have you here. I'm going to suspect that you are a fellow Edinburgher and a Hearts fan, no less. Good to have you here, my friend. I watched a little bit. Michael John Scott found it was out at tinfoil. Ha 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 ho. Right, okay, so you're talking about our homework. I've not actually done my homework yet, John, so I'm going to check that out. Still going to check that out. Recover account, enter password incorrect, enter new password, enters cannot use old. I know, I didn't want to take you through that. I actually did. I wanted to expose you to that pain that I was going through, but then I decided not to. Trump is on now. Oh, hi Trump. I'll just say it's hi Trump through the internet to him. Spiritually he'll get my vibes or something. Wow, they're saying they may have found an explosive device now. What the heck? What's going on? Wait a minute, what's going on here? Something's happening. Many words will be written out in this chat which I won't be able to say on here without, you know, getting my stuff taken off. Right, cool. It's good to have you all here. It's really good to have you all here, by the way. And that's it. Who else have I not given a shout out to? I mean, if I haven't so far, Peter here, good to see you. Buenos Aires, my friend, as well. If I said hi Zoner, hi K-Doc, I think I have. 3000 Trin, good to have you here. Matthew Rodriguez, quality trades one, same. I wish I would have put more dollars into RSR, but I can't complain. Yeah, that's the way you always feel, isn't it? It's the way we all always feel. It's about a 1,700 increase since March 2020, incredibly. Yes, it is very much incredible. Zoner, did you see Magic number 7 vid? Yeah, okay, we're going to check out the Magic number 7 stuff. We will check it out. I will anyway. If Google says you're a robot, then I believe them. I am a robot. Yeah, it's true. I'm a robot. So, what do we want to look at now first? By the way, my friend Jambo UK number 1, I will probably get round to taking a look at your chart there, the WISE one, but just so that you can be wise to it. There's a certain format that I follow on the show, which is I do the coins that I'm always going to do and if somebody sends a donation or a super chat or whatever, then I'll take a look at their coin, you know, sooner. And then furthermore, that you know, just like if you repeatedly ask for them and whatever else, then I stop doing them and all that sort of stuff and whatever else, the usual sort of thing you'd expect from somebody who's so valued by everybody else in the community that I have to, of course, distribute my time in a way that is fair. So anyway, let's just crack on and take a look at our other pals now. Okay, we'll jump onto Ethereum. It's been up there at 1,200. We already covered that. It has been putting in highs obviously here as well, not the all-time, or not the all-time high, no, and not the high of the day, but $1,200 is essentially where we are right now. Do I want to be on this chart? I think I've got a better chart for this just here. I do indeed have a better chart for this on this one. If I bring it up full screen, he says, and then it's not visible. What makes it better? I suppose actually, where's my pitchfork and all the rest of it? Who cares? It's not visible. Oh, it's because it's not on log, that's why. Hello! Right, so our top side target, currently 1,321. That would be the next kind of area to look to. Now, that's kind of, you know, not necessarily going to mean anything in and of itself necessarily. We do have bigger targets to look to, and the 1,420 target would be the next real big effort that we're looking to. And that'll be no surprise to people when I tell them, of course, that is the previous all-time high. If we want to look past the all-time highs on this chart, which I'm not going to rely on the internet speed to load up for me, so I'll not bother going back any further, but that's where that point is drawn with that number there, that Fibonacci line there, that's coming from the all-time highs. And the next level up from that to look to is going to be $2,254. Now that is, from where we are right now, 100% increase in price. So that's, well, it remains fairly realistic as the next upward side target. Maybe I should put on a couple of lower ones like the 1,272. That would probably be a better start for us, and that comes in at around about, let's say, our next target up the way after we take out the all-time highs is going to be 1,777, right? That's what we can say for now as the upside stuff. So we've got that part of the video out of the way. A few things mentioned there. If we take out this, if we continue to go towards the top side, then what we're looking at is these targets like 1.3, then 1.4, and then 1.7 or 1.8, with this upward side sort of supply line as well in there, in on linear. But did I? Oh, whatever. Gonna get rid of it. Too much noise in this chart as it stands. How have we fared with regards to all of our recent chat? We had this wedge idea here, doesn't seem to line up quite perfectly with that measured move, etc. We've broken out of that. That's cool. Just going to remove this crap off the charts as we look at it. If we do want to stay with this though, keep the beat going, what do we need to see keep happening overall with regards to the current price action? And it's going to be fairly simple again. It's the same story as what we've seen with Bitcoin, and on the 24-hour time frame here, looking at the 236. That comes in at 1,062. If we take that out, we can easily have a pullback down towards $962 with no real pain having been felt. This is the same story as yesterday. As you can see here, yesterday's candle, which lived outside the Bollinger Band, pushed back down again. At one point, it came down towards that 970 target. Now, that's the same sort of target that we have, but of course we've got 160 as a target. That's 120 bucks down from where we are just now, and 120 bucks is, a big chunk in terms of percentages, even though we are still very, very high, and you're looking at an 11%, 12% perhaps move in terms of the, from our most recent high of the day up there when we started talking about Ethereum there a second ago, down to the 1060 area. That's your trading range in terms of playing it safe. This is going to just have to continue with what we've really been talking about recently, that the trend's your friend until the end of the trend, yada yada. There's various factors that we could be aware of. All of them are just showing us where the potential pullbacks could be to. What we need to do is maintain structure at this point, and because we've had this really big move towards the top side, we're going to maintain structure so long as we stay above $700 odd, $800. We're maintaining everything fine, really, and I know that of course represents a huge potential pullback if we were to do it of that plus 30% area, but that is just the reality that we're dealing with. The chances of us doing that at any given time aren't huge, and we need to be moving past. There's a 70% chance, if you want to say so, that we won't actually go down below, if you want to put some numbers on stuff, 1058. But if we, in terms of closing out dailies and stuff like that, opening and closing them, but if we were to, at that point, there becomes a sort of 80% chance that we try to take out 960 again, right? At that point, then it diminishes what the chances are, but they're out this 236 and close and that below it, below 1060 and below $1,000. Then at that point, there becomes a solid sort of 40% chance that we could make it down towards this to this zone of $782. Okay, and that's just what we have to live with, because we've had this massive rise up in prices, and this is what we're left with when we go looking for our last low to pull it in from. Now, if we wanted to, we could move this around and make it line up with this pretend low here and give ourselves some other targets, but that puts the sort of the noose round our necks at 1,100 really, essentially, in terms of the 236 on that one, line up with the Bollinger Band, and it gives you a lot more sort of breathing room as opposed to the downside, where again, you'd simply be looking down at and saying that if we move down to 970 and turned around at the 50% pullback area, all you're doing is confirming this is a local high. So then in terms of the oscillators and whatnot, fuck. Yes, so in terms of the oscillators and whatnot, how have we achieved these highs? And we'll look at that. I mean, the extension that we've I don't know why she swallowed a fly. The extension that we've seen on the price action has led to this, not having divergence here in the daily time frame. So, there you go, right? Now, we can look back towards the highs we had in August and compare them to where we are now, and that is a problem for us. In fact, how does that look in the same regard with Bitcoin, just so I can know off the top of my head for the next time we find ourselves talking about this? The highs in August and the highs recently. No, so we pushed past that and we continue to go towards the top side. If we saw pullbacks coming in at these times, would be no surprise, because look at it. This is June or May 20, whatever, pullback. Wasn't a big one there, but we had stuff happen. we had stuff happen from here down the way. We had a big enough pullback, you know, we're big enough. And as you can see, because this is logarithmic, the size of these candles are fairly dinky compared to the size of the candles that we had over here, etc., etc. Why am I still talking about this? Right, bye-bye. Yeah, that's also covered. Everything is looking more or less bullish on this one. Early signs maybe for us in terms of problems will come in with the positive DM crossing down below the 40 line, which is blue here, and the ADX sloping down the way. When this could happen, well, it could happen at 1,300, where the ADX has gone up towards the 50 area, and the DM positives drop down below the 40. That could all happen, and you know, tie together with a story that sees you coming down to that 970 thereafter, having been up as high as that. Now that would be a different one. By that stage, you're looking at a 618 golden pocket retrace, and you'd be probably talking about things like 1,200 having a good deal of support in there, and 1,060 being the next area of support towards the downside if we arrive at that stage. And that's kind of your chess like layout with regards to the TA on this one at the minute. You know, we know where the prices could go. If they go to those prices, we know what to look to and where it could go thereafter. We know the significance if it does go beyond those prices. If it pulls around at those prices, we know the significance of that as well. So we've covered it, and that is cool. So I've not done the 15 minutes or the 1 hour on that one. Gonna let you handle that. Looking here at Chainlink, well, Chainlink, how have you been doing? And we pushed way up. We've actually, you know, for the first time in a long time, since we were in this trend here towards the top side, you know, we were in this is the 24-hour time frame. You know how we came down towards $7 or so, then went all the way up towards $16, and that lovely move up the way altogether. This is the first time that since during that period of time that we've been up at the top end of the Bollinger Bands, really dancing around here in the rain, having fun. Now the prices have pulled back from our highs, which are 1730 today, down towards and we've had lows as well, by the way. That's just kind of where we kind of took off from, I suppose, down there at the $14.15 area. So we've done, you know, we've done a lot, and we've commanded we've taken out a lot of the stuff that we were talking about. In fact, it says it on my chart as well. It says success. Says success. That was a 28% move from what we were talking about here. What's the next stage? Let me just borrow that. You know, if we were to see a pullback at any given time, be aware of the dangers of them. So, you know, you'd have that as your sort of top thing, and this is where we could see pullbacks coming down to, which means that you can, you know, if we were to only come back down as low as that $14.20 area, which is totally feasible to happen and really not change anything from a structural point of view or anything really at all. And that's a 16.5% move. Wow. So leverage trading at the minute obviously means that you need to be careful. I'm not a financial advisor, and that's financial advice, but I'd obviously say be careful in it. 21.83% move down in prices. That there, of course, would constitute some real you know, problems in terms of people's you know, extended leverage on their accounts or whatever. But again, if we do go down to there, the next target comes in there at 31% down, if another, you know, down $5.30 from where we are, all the way down there at 11.82, and that's where we spent an awful lot of time in the recent past. This is demonstrated quite easily by jumping down towards the 4-hour time frame and showing, you know, how we've handled things recently. It's just been with this lovely strong upward move. But every time we've come up towards the Bollinger Bands and found a pullback at some point, we have come down and retested a previous level. And if we look at where those levels have been, it's just simply enough where we found our previous high coming in at. So if we were to do that in a minute, what's the realistic point to look to rather than any of those three that I've talked about so far? And that would be, you know, and that would also be the most sensible place to be managing your risk at, is an 8.9% turnaround, a $1.40 off the price, coming in at a previous high there at 15.60. Or if you want to be slightly different about it, you could be looking down towards the sort of the 14.80 area. Now, if those get filled, then people could be very, very happy with the overall long-term outcome of that price action, having, you know, moved on up the way very, very well in general, and with these areas up above, such as $19, really, you know, 19.80 or so as being our next targets towards the top side. If we do continue going on as we've been going on, things do really look good for this coin, as they have done this entire time since we've been talking about getting in down there. The last time I, you know, was really sort of in your face telling you where to buy it was at sort of around about $8.50, I suppose. And there was the chat I had with people at about $7. But then I suppose for the people who weren't paying too much attention, you would have at least been talking 10.33. You know, as I said that so many times, and all of them are showing that, you know, we're 60% on up, 50% on up easily from the 10.33, and 100% up from the $8.50. So we don't really need to worry too much about where we are in terms of how things are going. Instead, you know, so long as we stay above, and here we are, 15.24, so it's kind of a compromise zone between that wick and these bodies, and that makes a degree of sense where we had this inflection at before. If we stay above that $15.26 there, more or less, well, how about we do something a little bit different then, just to kind of make it so that it is, you know, there's always something to be seen here. Let's take off that. Let's take off our moving averages, or at least let's take off some of the moving averages. Let's take off all of these ones here, and all the exponential ones, and just leave on those two there. On the 1 hour time frame, now let's go down to the 15-minute time frame, just to give people a different idea about how they can manage everything that they're looking at, right? So we've got two moving averages on here currently. They're both simple moving averages. This is the 50 and then the 200, red and then white relative respectively. Both dotted lines there showing us, you know, easy areas in terms of where you can manage your risk around. Now, what you could say is that everything above a buy, above the 50 is a buy, and you know, in terms of if the prices come down to visit and you're looking for, you know, your discount, and then below the 200 then becomes like a sell, or, you know, we stop. If we see multiple closures below this, then you're managing your risk in such a way that is becomes much more dangerous at this point. Now then, let's put that into perspective and show the divide between these two areas, which is obviously quite visible when you look at certain things like, of course, the MACD, seeing that this is obviously stretched out a hell of a lot more than it was over there, as we see when the 50 and the 200 were closer together, which means that if you were managing your risk from a sort of really sort of short-term point of view, and you were looking at this area here and saying, how am I going to handle things? Well, it became like, you know, with the gap between these two areas, much less risky in terms of how much you have to stomach to be able to get these moves towards the top side, with then again a huge risk to reward payoff from it. At this point here, that's not so clear in terms of your risk to reward payoff. For instance, if you're saying that if we move down towards the 382 line here on this Fibonacci, which is below the 200 simple, and that's your risk then as well. If you're taking a move off the 50 simple moving average, where do you need to see your profit go to start to become reasonable? Now, some people in the world talk about 1.5 to 1 in terms of risk to reward, and that would put you in at the all-time highs previously at $19 or so, shy of them as well. So you're not like, you know, getting into that final section of danger where you're really, instead of actually managing your risk to reward in at the 200 and this 382, you instead could look towards the 50 simple. Maybe the 50 simple is too big. I think the 50 simple is too big there. We could change this down to just in terms, if I'm actually going to be saying something for people to sort of take away, we could change it down a bit. Let's go for a 9 period simple moving average here on the charts. That's that red dotted line. I'll hide everything again so it's more clear, and just kind of saying that so long as the prices, so that you're doing the same sort of idea, but you've got the VWAP here in terms of managing your risk, you know, at any given point. Then when you're above this in terms of the small case scenario, it's a long, right? If you wanted to, you could short it down for the regression towards the mean at the VWAP, you know, below that line, managing your risk very, very carefully there, because that's more advanced, and obviously it's counter trend, and obviously it's you know, ignores the sort of the simplistic rules that you need if you want to stay safe in a rapidly evolving market that involves highly extremely emotional situations and whatever else. But you know, then what you could then say is just that you're not going to trade there between those zones. If it goes down below the VWAP and whatever else, and it's above the 200, you could treat those as buys back up towards the VWAP if you like, as we see in the whatever. But just so you can see, that's really, you know, more than enough, and we can move on with our lives. Now, taking a look at Tezos. Thank you so much, by the way, to everybody for joining me. I see other people who haven't had a shout out in there, such as Mobile Apps. Interesting name for YouTube, that one, Mobile Apps. And the Mexican Kitchen, Bienvenido otra vez, mi amigo Mexican Kitchen. Yeah, and the Cocina Mexicana, right? Okay. And if we look up, who else have I not given a shout out to? Everybody's got one so far, I think. Nav and Ethan, there we go. Howdy, everybody, says Nav. And Ethan, that's cool. I missed him and I got him. Mobile apps. Yeah, mobile apps, just so you know, simple enough system here. I do the coins that I'm always going to do. Then if there's time left over, I take a look at the suggested coins. And if there isn't, then there isn't. And if you want me to do one, then you can absolutely go ahead and help support the channel with. And by the way, Drew's Tech, thank you so much for hitting like. Excellent, giving Drew's Tech a shout out for that. And I didn't actually give you a shout out in the chat as well, so that's quality. Drew's Tech got one because there was a name I missed. You know what I see here, by the way? I see that Jambo UK has not returned to chat since I gave him a shout out and all that. But what I do see is that mobile apps is repeating himself with Algo BTC. So on the one hand, I'm going to move you and your suggestion Algo BTC up to ahead of Jambo because he's not chatting. And if he just hops into a live stream, asks for a coin, then leaves again, he's the only one that wanted it. Nobody else is interested. Then we'll just not care about that one. Or mobile apps, you maybe you'll get a bit cheeky and start just repeating yourself, in which case I'll just ignore you. But I see you asking for it twice there. You haven't said please yet though. So there's that. Yeah, you know, exactly. Just as Trades once says, if you're just a subscriber in the Discord, didn't recognize you, apologize. Otherwise, you're going to have to at least drop a BLZ, sir. I subscribed. Great, that's fantastic. You've subscribed to the channel and you're chatting and you're not like Jambo UK who just, you know, evaporated. So we'll take a look at it, buddy. We'll take a look at it after we've looked at Tezos. And you know what as well? I know that there's other people who'd be interested in it. Just a quick thing. As Bitcoin puts in all-time highs, it's very hard for any coin to succeed in the Bitcoin pairing. However, today has been one of those days where altcoins have been up and down. Maybe there's something particularly interesting with Algo. It'll be good to see. I can see that it's down 0.5% versus Bitcoin, while it's up 5% versus the dollar. So, you know, there's that struggle. The money is a bit of a myth that people think, because in terms of the volumes in markets, by the way that trading happened back in 2017 and the mechanisms that you had to do it, I mean, this was before USDT existed or around, what, you know what I mean? This is what we were talking about back then was a very different situation to what we have now. And as well, the tax laws, etc., weren't around then, etc., etc. In terms of simplicity, the ease of access and the liquidity, you're finding a lot of it in the USDT pairings, and that in fact the Bitcoin ones are a little bit vestigial in that, and at least certainly in terms of people's perception of them, in that people think that they're just as active as the other ones, but evidently that's not the case, and it's a tertiary level one which is dominated by arbitrage bots, and that's where the majority of that volume is coming from. Of course, the majority of most crypto exchanges volume comes from wash trading. Okay, so there's that as well, and we know about that, but we, you know, discount the wash trading aspect of things. Allegedly, not that I'm saying anything bad, because, you know, whatever. And then of course there's that next aspect of things. So I'd always be careful with regards to that until such times as that changes. Now, it was the case in 2017 and 2018. It's not the case in 2019. It wasn't the case in 2020, and it's so far as yet not the case in 2021. Whilst in 2017, 2018 and 2019 and 2020, what people were kind of thinking was, it's going to be great whenever we get into a Bitcoin bull run again and we trade versus Bitcoin for our alts, because that's what everyone will be doing. And you might be looking at the charts for the last while and thinking, why is nobody doing this, and why is this just feel like I'm being pushed around by the USDT pairings of these coins rather than the Bitcoin one? And well, basically that's your answer for you there, buddy. We're as yet not seeing that happen as yet, right? And when that does start happening, then I'll be sure to kind of be on it and tell everybody about what I'm seeing, if that's the case. Now, if somebody else is seeing something out there and I've missed the boat on that one, then please do let me know, because I'm extremely interested. Just fixing up my numbers here before moving on to take a look at Tezos. And like I said, mobile apps, my buddy. I will take a look at your suggestion after we've done Tezos here versus the dollar. By the way, I used to do Tezos, Chainlink, and Ethereum versus Bitcoin in every single video, and I would probably put them out 4 times a day. For people, well, one each, you know, so then it added up to 4 times a day, 4 videos, all the rest of it. And the channel did grow a bit and everything else, but nobody was interested, you know, and that's one of the things that kind of really led me to understanding that the chat that people had with regards to Bitcoin parents or trading things in sort of the early days of Binance is now very, very, very much not the common ideology, and maybe you're experiencing a slight hangover from that, you know, as I certainly was. However, the chances of you feeling like that line that's going along, what is that, you might be asking if you're just tuning in here 5 minutes into this live stream. So that's obviously wrong, my timer's wrong, so there you go. That's the VWAP. Everything seems to be going wrong technologically this week. That doesn't need to be there because it obviously just doesn't work in terms of the daily and above timeframes. Right, so here on the 24-hour time frame, what are we seeing with regards to Tezos? And isn't it beautiful to see here that, well, we're being sandwiched between these 2 moving averages, that we have that over the period of the last few days we have done a number of really positive things. We were oscillating here between the there was this big drop down, but if you ignore that, 180 and then, you know, 190, but 196 and 220 were really, you know, was where that range was for a number of days, giving up great trading opportunities, saying to people throughout this period of time that you're best to manage your risk in there and about 195, and that of course you're taking an additional risk at 220 for any pullbacks that could happen until such times as we've definitely broken it. And as you can see here, we definitely did break it, came up towards the 200, and we're currently challenging that. Now, what we have to be aware of is this situation that happened back at late November 2020, last year, then when we, you know, failed and pushed back down again thereafter. This is kind of can be seen with regards to the movement that we just had past the 4 hour, past the, if we're in terms of looking at this movement that we had past the 50 period simple moving average, which was of course one single candle on the daily. It was actually tested with wicks here before on the previous day, and then tested with a wick on the following day. So we actually know that in a 72-hour period it was touched at least 3 times, you know, during that period. So if we were looking for how did this actually all go down, this is the 50 period moving average here on the daily. Then what we can look at is the 50 period moving average on the 4 hour time frame, and it'll be, or the 6 hour time frame. Where's my 6 hours? My 6 hour time frame, and you'll see that that's the 200. All right, so the 200s, because 50 times 6 was 4 times 6 is 24, and 50 times 4 is 200. So the 200 simple, that's where the 50 was on the daily on this particular time frame, because that's how these things work. It's called maths, or math if you're from America. And we saw we came up and we tested it in there at 221, pulled away again, came all the way back down to $2, giving you another great trade, all the way up again to 220. Then we pushed on and went all the way up. And over here on the 4 hour time frame, then you can see in terms of what the result of this movement has been, and of course then our persistence and in terms of breaking up above that 50 on the daily time frame has resulted in is this coming in for our whale mouth, our big whale's mouth. If I just get a picture of a whale up here, go images, and then you see how a whale's mouth looks. This is obviously going the wrong way round, but you've got this upward slope on the lower side and this slightly downward slope over there. All right, you get that? Do you get that? Do you see how this is kind of like a whale? Well, there you go. It's lovely to see these movements. Now, this isn't a pattern or anything else. This is just something that I joked about back in February with the early subscribers to the channel. Shout out to Peter Hewer. But anyway, this is your Rocky Outcrop whale pattern. Anyway, as we can see here, there's a distinct upward slope on the 50, a lovely little bit of an upward slope on the 200. Prices far above it currently, having, you know, pushed past these now. If we do get a cross on this one here, it's going to be a 4 hour golden cross. It's not the golden cross, but it's a 4 hour golden cross, and we failed to do it back there in the previous big run up that we had towards that 250 area. So as we see that our prices are in that 257 period, so long as we more or less do two things. One is maintain the structure over here in the longer term by staying above this orange line overall, which means that we're staying outside of the previous parallel channel and we don't break back down into it. But should we need to, let's try and stay above both of these moving averages, giving the 50 probably a retest in the next few days with that one, so that we can look over towards the 24-hour time frame and start to see these two converge, and they would converge rapidly. So we're in this period where we're looking to see if we can get a whale's mouth to start forming up on that one. On the 12-hour time frame, you can see then that we've I don't know what you want to call that one. It's not a whale anymore at this point. It's kind of like a whatever. So there's that. So that's what we're looking for, right? Okay, that's very basic, but that's it. If we cross, get a retest of them, that's where it suddenly gets advanced, because people don't talk about the retests of the crosses, and it's a key. Is it as important as the cross itself? Is the retest? Actually, it's more important. It's clearly more important. So you've got a clear increase in terms of the moving average. So that's always handy to have in terms of, you know, looking at your volume indicator down below. Wee tip for people. No divergence. Yeah, no divergent free on all of them apart from the stochastics, which did class B. That's out with that trend. Just at the very first impulse up of that trend, actually, up to where we are now. The stochastics don't like what it's seeing. Whatever, the stochastics can shut their face. The RSI is happy, the DMI is happy. The same sort of scenario in terms of what we talked about earlier on. Like, we could see that if we see this turning around and this happens at around about the 40 area, then we'll know that we're in for a short term, at least sort of medium term pullback, where we look for our sort of support footing thereafter. In terms of Fibonacci, then Fibonacci. So long as we're staying above 255, that's great. That's that 252 level. Let's just take a look at HIT BTC, our friend that is crazy. Oh, and we've made it above that 258. We've made it just below it again. Now this horizontal straight line on here, this is like an old friend of the family, because when did we draw on Rocky Outcrop of the world? Remind me when it was. Was it back here in April that we drew that line in? Was it back then? I'm not sure, but we spoke about it an awful lot. Maybe it wasn't July, because I haven't really talked about the HIT BTC chart in like 6 months. Must have been back then. Whatever. Anyway, this has been one of those areas which is like, it's been like that 222 number that we've been talking about. Significant area for us. We're failing in terms of structure to get above this previous high, and that does line up with our next target. And our next target towards the top side is $3, and that's going to be the same on every chart, no matter what messy drawings I've got on there for us to look at. Let me just see if there's any other stuff from the past I need to be aware of. Oh, great, this pitchfork. How are we handling things in terms of it? That was a success, that move. That was nice. So, well, that's our next move up the way. Generally speaking, the easiest, not the easiest, but the least risk that you're going to have in terms of managing this position is going to line up perfectly with the median line of that parallel channel. And look at a chart, then it's managed to achieve more than 7% towards the top side on dollar. So then it's got 2.2 towards the top side versus Bitcoin pair. And this is a 4-hour time frame. We've got this big draw down the way here, and that is coming in with this most recent of highs, which is of course bearishly divergent across every single oscillator, apart from this one, the no sure thing oscillator, which I've got on there at the minute, which you don't use for divergence, because if you did, it wouldn't work, and it just doesn't really. Instead, that's just telling us that we're in an upward trend. Whatever, it's kind of rudimentary in that sense, and that's good to see. But we need to maintain that, and maintaining that structure means maintaining above certain areas, like the 50% simple 50 period moving average, and looking up towards this, the next area here, that's right on the 236 is right on the 200 simple. If we can do that, that story needs to happen. This would give us an inverted head and shoulders roughly here, a neckline roughly there, a measured move off the back of that, that's 759, that's 561, that's 200, so 200 towards the top side comes in at 9. Perfect. So we do up there challenging that straight off the back of the measure move off the back of this thing. That would be lovely to see happen. We got bullish divergence along the way. Yep, everything's perfect set up for this to go towards the top side. Have we said that before? Yes, we have. For instance, just as a quick example, here is the exact thing that we're just kind of talking about there now. anyway, in and around this area. We didn't actually manage to achieve very much, but we came up and got a 618 golden pocket Fibonacci retracement from that. So where would be your area to look to on this one? Hard to say because it's been such a shocking downtrend, such a shocking one. So let me bring this up and go towards a larger time frame. That's right, I went up towards 2-day there. That's right, because I'm trying to find a zone where you could make a half decent argument for having had a period of inflection. So our last high, let's call it, is there. That's of course been very generous. Actually, fuck it, let's draw it in from here. Okay, cool. So when we get above the 236 here, that's when we can start being positive. Structure doesn't actually get broken until we go past 12,000 satoshis. That's not even strictly speaking true, but at least we're trying something at 12,000. Nobody from the members or whatever has asked me to do a look at a coin or anything like that in the meantime, because if they did, I'd give them priority. What's up? No turtleneck yet. Rocky. Sugar. Sorry. Right. I'm sick. I'm just wearing my hoodie. I'll look smart tomorrow. Turtleneck tomorrow, right? You see Nano making me regret my moves. Haha. Nano, you say. So like, there we go. Sorry to mobile apps. Maybe that's tantamount to a request to take a look at Nano, but he's being polite and nice about it. So I'll just stick Nano on for 2 seconds. We also see that things have got we've got other people chatting as well. There's going to be Speedy Gonzalez says Mexican Kitchen. Totally, let's hope so. What was that other song by Pat Boone? What's the song by Pat Boone? Does anybody in the chat know the song by Pat Boone about Mexican? It's so racist. But is that back in the day American racism where they didn't really think they were racist? They just thought they were superior to other people. You know how it is. What was it? Anyway, very good song. You were mentioning Speedy Gonzalez. Is it called Speedy Gonzalez? I don't know. No need to bother with in-depth TA. Just wanted to ask if MDA is going to 0. Cool. Okay, so no need to bother with the thing. Let's just have a quick look though. We're going to just have a quick brief look at Nano. Then I'm going to jump over and take a look at Algo BTC, like our buddy Mobile Apps asked for us to. Fuck. Sorry, excuse my language. Big move up, easy to see in the 2-day time frame where the current trend, this is obviously March, right? So this is the same as every other one out there. As a rough guideline, I could make that line up perfectly. I'll not bother, but you're talking $2.20 to stay above that. It's very, very good. Pullbacks line up with market structure in terms of the biggest possible pullback. In terms of if Dow were to get his theory bang on yet again for the 150th year in a row, it would be 152 would be where you would see it happen. Not calling for that unless you see prices go below 220. Of course, firstly with that 236, it's not much of a shock there on that one. So there's your confluence coming in for you. Where are you? That bang on there. So essentially seeing a pullback to this area wouldn't be a shock in terms of regression towards the mean. It would be a little bit right now. I expect it would probably not do it for a few hours. What are we looking at with daily close coming up in 2 hours? So this is one of those situations towards the end of the evening where this will obviously jump up quite a bit to match up with, not obviously, but the way this works is it's recalculated on a daily basis. So that's what would happen. It would jump up. So if this goes down in the next few hours, then that's your target, but that's kind of shit because this is where you'd actually see it probably bounce at 233. So I'm looking to see how this kind of goes along over the next wee while. If I were to go long on this right now, I'd manage my risk at 240s or so, but that's quite crazy. So what type of price action are we needing to see happen for us to get some sort of profit off the back of that? Already having come in at 2.24 and potentially find support at it, then the next area up being the 2.72. Have I got that on here? The 3272, the 2272. I've got the 2 to 224. Should have 2272 really, shouldn't I? I suppose to keep things consistent. No, let's look at the 2618, I guess. We've actually hit that as well, right? or we've just about hit it. Close enough is close enough with regards to that. Yeah, that's your current TA on this one. Staying above there means that we're kind of doing quite well. A lot of risk here with regards to the volatility, which we've seen recently, bringing in big percentage moves with it. That's crypto, baby. If we can see things moving on up the way, that would be good in terms of the VWAP and whatnot. We've kind of covered that with regards to it's given us some confluence in terms of just looking smoother across a few days. Instead, then what we're looking at is to stay above these atomic numbers here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those atomic numbers, as you can see, lovely jubbly for us. So yeah, exactly. Kind of, this is obviously going to be lining up with this area in the next hour or two. That's where I'd want to see my bounce happening at. Would be about 230s to 240s zone. Movements down below there will then, yeah, you get pretty scary. For us to then continue afterwards with a reset of the VWAP onto the next day. Pullbacks down to this area, okay. Structurally, don't want to take out 230, but we're actually okay doing that so long as we really stay above. Well, a 236 in there at 220. Otherwise, bigger targets for us. Let's go! Mobile apps, yo! Check it out. My computer says I've been on live streaming for exactly 26 seconds. So that's quality, good to know. So here we are. Oh, look at that. 1 hour time frame. We're getting a little bit of a negative cross potential on the go here. And that's obviously as a result of Bitcoin sitting there $200 shy of its all-time high on its freaking life. And you're trading this other thing against it and it's not done well. Well, that's not that much of a surprise. However, what we're seeing here is a general move towards the top side. Failure in terms of taking out this previous high in this area. Let me just give you a quick reminder of what this thing can look like. Now, this is just what it is. This is me just giving you a reminder of what something can look like in terms of a shape of things. This is Link. Pardon me. This here we've taken out our previous high over this area in this 24-hour time frame on the Link chart, and that looks good and everything's very positive. We can now look towards pullbacks down here towards these areas and be confident that that offers up a decent trading zone for us. Link Bitcoin, on the other hand, struggling, but this could be a very good recovery. Algo to Bitcoin, same sort of shape there. On the 4 hour time frame, though, in terms of its shape, simply having not taken out that zone isn't very good. But it does give you the opportunity for a cup with handle. It doesn't structurally, market-wise, that doesn't make any sense, so I'm not going to say that it is that. You've got this upwards, right, really, take it off. No, that doesn't make a difference at these prices, obviously. That's too much. Yeah, so this kind of could almost be like an ascending triangle. It isn't really. It kind of slopes down the way, which is, there like that. And you've got this kind of aspect to it here, but that's a little bit, so it's the volatility coming into play here with regards to this one. Bit and go higher than it. In terms of the upward trend, we don't have hidden bullish divergence. So that's not good. We'd like to see some hidden bullish divergence. That's okay though. That's fine. Okay. So yeah, if counterintuitively, if we had gone up just any higher, just if we'd gone up an extra couple hundred satoshis really or whatever, then we'd have been experiencing a degree of problems here, which otherwise we've been lucky enough to avoid having. So that's nice. We don't have that, and we continue trending on the way so far. But as you can see here, this did the same thing yet again with these last two highs here, where this is lower than the previous one again. So high, low, lower high, a few higher lows, perhaps a lower high here, and it gives you that consolidation feeling where it's just slanted. It's not quite enough, didn't achieve enough on any of these to give you an ascending triangle. It's kind of done so well towards the top side and this regimented demand line, if you like, along the lower side, that it isn't ideal in terms of patterns like that. I can't be looking for any harmonics or anything like that right now on a live stream or whatever, but maybe there'd be something interesting in there. I'm certainly more than happy enough to put on some Fibonacci points though, just to give us a bit of context here with how far we went. Up just past the 1618 on that move before pulling down the way, finding that operating as resistance thereafter. With the subsequent move up the way, we did achieve, of course, the 886, right? But as well, the full 100%. In terms of his body closes, was that the 886? So maybe you could go and look for some harmonic type things yourself, perhaps, with the way that we're having this just around that zone. Yeah, so the way that we've got certain areas coming in, there could be something like that in some time frame for you to look at. Not really that big a deal. If we do get a break from this and it is a pattern of some sort, then you're looking at a range of 0.15 down to 116, so 350 to 400. So that could take you from 1.5 up towards the 2 area. So that would break all of this, which would be really good to see, and perhaps lead to some positivity on a bigger time frame. So the bigger time frames, it's obviously, this is obviously shite. And looking down the way, it has got bullish divergence with these lows just now, so that's good. So we've got bullish divergence between these two lows and like this sort of general area versus this general area here. This sort of general thing. So we've got here, so we're not seeing hidden bearish divergence overall, thankfully. We've avoided that. And we have then upward slope on the stochastics. What about on the 3-day or the week? Have we turned it around on that yet? Just turning it around on the weekly. That's good to see. The 3-day as well, coming back outside of that oversold territory. Weekly time frame, good. The weekly time frame makes this a hell of a lot easier again, in fact. So we'll just sit here on the weekly time frame for talking about this as a general concept. Not in terms of like making this line up properly, but in terms of me being able to draw this in here and pop it over here and you actually see it lining up with stuff. Okay, so that takes us up towards that 236. That's not the 236, it's actually in here, and a 60% move off the back of this pattern would take us towards that 236 as well. And that first target is going to be a potential area, because 70% of the time it doesn't work 100% of the time. So it's got that Sex Panther on the go at 1851. The next sort of Sex Panther comes in at the 0.382 area, and that is at 2,329 satoshis. Not really sure how many satoshis that is, or whatever. That might be 23 bazillion satoshis. Who cares, really? We're talking about all the zeros. 2329 is your next area. Next one after that is going to be all the zeros 2716, and the next one after that is going to come in here, that golden pocket, if we do get any of this now. But the most important part of this is that we'd be taking out this 236. That's going to do two things at once, as we can see, because it lines up with more or less where our weekly closes were, and undoubtedly lines up with a bunch of them on the daily time frame. As you can see, a whole host of them coming in there. So I'm making all the points. This applies to all of the time frames, all of them. It's just a matter of you kind of figuring that what bits of it are relevant to what you're looking at in particular. We take out the 8-period exponential moving average here on the weekly time frame. That's obviously your first good sign, because looking back in the past, it's been at times when you take it out, you get a good move towards the top side. You take it out, you get a good move towards the downside. You fail to take it out, you get continuation towards the downside. You fail to take it out, you get a bit continuation. Then you take it out here and you get a big move up. You fail to take it out here, you get continuation towards the top side thereafter. So in terms of the weekly time frame, that is percentages, and then we can start getting positive about it. This is a downward trend that does indeed have the warning sign of bullish divergence. Not on the weekly though, as you can see here, just downward trend on the weekly. It doesn't have anything great on this here to look at. Coming back out and retesting this zone before dipping back down the way, fine. Need to take out this moving average here and get it turned around and start to go blue. That's the RSI, by the way, if you're curious, with a moving average on it, an exponential moving average on it. So what we're hoping for really is that this story of the stochastics twisting towards the top side proves true, but you wouldn't really get enthusiastic about this, while it's in this bearish as fuck zone, would you? So it's only whenever it gets past that you start to really kind of get positive about things again, and that's a ways away, and that involves doing all of these steps along the way. So if you're doing any trading at the minute, then that's the risk that you're taking on, that you're just a counter trend move. Now the reward is massive and it's quite clear, so you're with that high risk comes high reward. In terms of managing trades in and around about this zone, it would be sensible to think about things in terms of that 5-to-1, because that's incredibly greedy, and as it stands, instead of looking up towards those targets. But if you were to then continue to think about things from a sort of 5-to-1 point of view, let's just do it from where the prices are more or less right now, and saying that I would stop out, for instance, if we took out those wicks over there. Now of course it could come down and revisit those wicks and double bottom off that area and go away again. That's a completely different trade to what we're talking about here, which is of course essentially saying I'm happy to absorb and for God knows why, right? But this is what you're saying. I'm happy to absorb 20% of losses just to stay within this wedge on the hope that we break out of it. Again, God knows why. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm certainly not giving you financial advice right now, but this is what you'd have to look at. And then your 5 to 1 comes in at this 618 Fibonacci retracement zone if you're taking on that amount of risk. Now, if you were to look at this more sensibly, I suppose, then you kind of maybe would have been getting in lower, or you'd be managing your risk simply in terms of saying that I'll not be too greedy, instead I'll just get out of that zone. And the 5 to 1 then comes in again at a far more realistic sort of temperament for you, whatever, where essentially if you're getting in at that point, this is making it really tight on it, but then you're saying that you're happy enough with a retest of any breakout of this wedge, but you don't want it to break back into it again, because if it does, then you're happy enough to lose to take your stop, take a hit on that one. So it's always about the risk reward when you're trading and everything else, obviously, but the risk reward is an arbitrary subject, doesn't really have any anchor to it for you to be able to run with and understand, which is what I hope I provided with that little demonstration there, at least an anchor for that understanding of things. And that's it. Now we could have spent the time talking about algo versus USDT, having taken out that 346 target as well, gone up to the 50-cent target, done really, really well, been trading absolutely phenomenally against the dollar, for a while, so that's decent. But we don't have time. Suffice it to say that we've come up and we're almost at the 618 golden pocket area. 55 would be your next profit taken. That's still 10% up from where we are now. So you're greedy. Just let me remind you, you're greedy, by the way. You're still, I know it's been a while. I know we've talked about this, but you're still greedy. I know you are. I know. Okay. So that's where we are right now with regards to this one. Cool. I'm done now. That's it. So just, make sure you hit me up in the chat, everybody, if you feel like there's something I've missed out on, or whatever. And let me just go back and read a little bit of this chat that we've had in here as well for the last wee while. I do apologize to everybody about the bufferings. Hopefully things can get better. Okay. And that over time, it just swings and roundabouts. No, that's not the correct phrase. But anyway, it's just a bit of the old swings and roundabouts. Michael John Scott, Thunder. Have you looked at Thunder? Hey, who's Thunder? Thunderbug Creative. Hey, Thunderbug Creative. Hey, nice to have you here. Good to meet you, mate. Nice to see people already chatting with you. Are you a subscriber here, by the way? Have you subscribed? If you haven't, now's the time. You get to subscribe on YouTube for free. I've been involved in solar eco stonks all year, and I've been gaining big on Plug, Futel, DQ, Nova, etc. Interesting stuff. I'm not sure those tickers there that you've mentioned. There's a few other ones. Who was I looking at? An LA based one who were bought by another company, Sol something. A year ago, about a year ago or something, no, maybe more, a year and a half ago or something. Anyway, they had a nice run up, big pullback, nice run up thereafter. Let's just see what comes up. Fuel Cell Energy Inc. Which one was it that I was looking at? Doing really well, but obviously doing really well since July 2019. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. I was looking at it about, no, when was I looking at it? A year and a half ago. That's a year ago. That's a year and a half ago. Yeah, the last time I looked at it was was when it bottomed out, essentially, and I was thinking these companies, they were touted as doing really, really well, having great earnings, but they've just been in a forever downward cycle since, well, the year 2000 on this particular one. From the year 2000 until the year 2019, it'd been in a big downtrend, putting in low after low after low, and I was thinking, this isn't that great an investment, to be honest with you. V-shaped recovery came in there June 2019. If you like squeeze it in loads, if you go on like the monthly chart, you get your V, right? Sorry, let me be clear, it wasn't actually a V-shaped recovery at all by any means. Not this, not that, that's not a V-shape, that's just different. Yeah, good on you, mate. I'm glad that you've been making good money. We're still a million miles away from taking out big structural things. And in terms of like, to anybody who's thinking, oh well, that guy said something interesting, maybe I need to get on in it, maybe I'm too late, which is what obviously is like the FOMO that is real in the world, and people always feel like they're too late. So let me just be very, very clear in terms of how crap this was, because it was crap. This is logarithmic as well. Let me just show you what it's like not on logarithmic, just so you can see these this disaster here that happened between this period in May 2017 down to August 2019. Doesn't look that bad there. Put it on log and you can see just how awful that was, just so you get the context. So look at this in terms of the 236. Bearing in mind that the 382 and all the rest of it, the 618, all of that's all in this area just here. This is how bad this has been. So can we say that anything, this is an incredible opportunity in many ways, in many ways. No, and we've got a golden cross over here in the 2-day time frame. 24-hour time frame must have crossed a wee while ago. Yeah, just came in for a kiss again in November, crossed in January. The weekly time frame, we've got the 200 simple, actually looking at 1,000% increase in price. So if anybody thinks that they're too late to miss it, that they've missed out on something like that, they're not. Other things come into play though. If you move it down the way and you go for something like this instead, and you say that this was actually our last significant high, Rocky, you were being really cheeky when you said up there was our last one. No, this is our last one, because even though this is a really awfully performing stock throughout most of its history, it's done really badly, and you'd have to be a complete lunatic to have invested in it at any point throughout its entire history. From a statistical point of view, it went up 200% between its low and its high over there, and that's very good. So let's call that the most recent high, and I'd say, okay, I agree with you. Now you're talking sense over here, and we're above the 236. We came up, we retested it, and we came up and we retested. We got close enough to the 50, but we didn't quite get it. We're retesting the 382 at this point here. We're above the 200 simple, staying above $7. Very good for this one. This could see massive gains, but you wonder why people look at fundamentals in terms of normal investments. Let this be an example to you in terms of why it might be a good idea to look at the fundamentals. You could, for instance, look into this company and see that it's paying out such a dividend at such a level where your yield on owning the stock is so high that it actually, really is undervalued in the most typical sense. That would be fundamentals, okay? And can you do this sort of thing with crypto? Well, very rarely are you looking at a cryptocurrency really that has to go up 1,000% to get just to its 236 from its last really super significant high. Indeed, really rarely are you looking at a cryptocurrency which has already gone up to get to its 236. 14 set already gone up 5,000%. So anyway, my God, like people who were able to get in on this, instant millionaires, I suppose. It's just now acceptable tech. Anyway, yeah, it's just, I was saying, I wasn't saying anything bad there, by the way. I'm just talking about how amazing this is and how an amazing example this is for understanding what it is when people say that they look at, when Warren Buffett says, I'm buying this stock because fundamentals, and then the rest of the world says fundamentals, and then you're looking at stuff and you think fundamentals. How are fundamentals going to help me trade? Well, they don't, but they certainly help you keep your job. The point at which, say you bought it on February 2019 and the drop went down of 97.9 or 98%, and you still somehow were somehow still had some of this at this point here and your job, then you start looking at the fundamentals, right? And then when you're down here at 4 pence, and you have to convince somebody that to buy a stock at 4 pence and say that, and for them to turn around and say, look, if it goes down from 4 pence or from wherever to down a bit, that's still a 50%. If it goes from 4 pence to 3 pence, that's 25%. Can we afford to take that risk of 25% to the downside? Can we afford it, or whatever? Or say it was at 17 cents and it went down there to its actual low at at 13 cents, you think that's cheap because you're crazy and you're from the cryptocurrency world. But in the reality world, where you're looking at something dropping 28% and you're still having to justify why you got it and what is a good decision, fundamentals, super useful for that. And then, of course, as we see, if the earnings to ratio was so high and whatever else that it couldn't justify a price that low, then we did get, a pullback. Certainly took a lot of consideration from the market to do that, though. And obviously that company has only just finally gotten to the point where, it's kind of like Spotify or whatever, it's lost money its entire existence. It's been a shit investment for every single person involved in it, where every single participant in his entire existence throughout the majority of his life has lost almost all of the money they've ever put into it, right down to zero. And now what we have is our buddy Thunder coming in here and making himself like a very wealthy man off the back of it, and I absolutely salute him for having done so. But the risk, anyway, that's cool. That was a nice little diversion. SNX is my Moonbag light, says Mexican Chichen. That's cool. FCL chart at the decision point. Is it a piece of crap or is it amazing? Yeah, totally. Is it? I wonder. I really wonder. The eco-tech companies that do well will be the ones already favored by China. Crypto market. What is that one that I was looking at though, by the way? It was like it was like Los Angeles based solar panel company. Will that do it for me? Will my computer even work? Look at that. What were they called? Energy Sunlux. Sunlux. Was it Sunlux? In the year 2000, right up until the 1st of July 2019, it was nighttime, you see. And then the sun rose, and that's what happened there, essentially, and it makes a lot of sense. For this whole period, water ran uphill instead of downhill. Gravity didn't work, and photosynthesis wasn't a thing, and then suddenly it was. This is obviously a battery company, but this was it. They were getting trampled by Duracell and all that. Duracell were just stealing all of their customers right up until here. Then I guess maybe Tesla or somebody got involved with them. I wonder what it is. Take a look at Universal Security Instruments Inc. Is on the NYC market. I'm going to assume that that's what you're talking about. That's more like it. 5,000% since April 2020, March 20. How well has Bitcoin done since March 20? I know it's a lot. I was there. I watched it. Happen. March 20. 824%. Wowza. But when you've got people coming into our space, right? This is our space. We own this space. Us, the people. When you've got people coming into who are, traditional hedge fund managers and big investment people and all the rest of it, and they start throwing their sort of clout around, talking about how Bitcoin's been the best investment of the year and all this sort of shite that people talk about, and then you go and take a look at something else which is traded on Arca. And it's existed for quite a while. It's not like it's just brand new. This is the weekly chart. Bearing in mind the weekly chart going back. So this is a company which has existed at very least since 1973. Came in and it had all-time lows. It got its all-time lows in 2020, having existed for 50 years at that point, more or less. And then it went towards the top side 5,000%. Fucking hell. Makes you wonder why we're in crypto, hey? This thing pays a dividend too, probably. just shy of that 236. Now we did come up and actually test the 382 here, but we pulled back again subsequently. We are just coming in for a golden cross as well on the weekly, so I'm not going to say that we necessarily need to retest this thing, but it's good to see that, and it's good to be aware. Like for instance, we had a death cross here, we came back in and tested the 50 simple period moving average. We had a golden cross here, but this happened right at the test. I had that episode recently and it's on the education playlist if anyone wants to watch it, about the importance of where the price action is with regards to crosses. And I'm again aware this is a weekly time frame, but we see here it came down and it was so close to that as it happened, and here likewise so close as it happened. Here not so close, tested the 50 thereafter. Here not so close, so we could test the 50. Now at this point that's insane, and it's nearly impossible to imagine. I mean, it's nearly impossible, but it becomes very easy to imagine if I just do something like that, and then suddenly I'm imagining it fine. But right now it's nearly impossible to imagine us going down towards that 172 area. It could happen. You'd have to check the fundamentals though first, right, before you could properly know. Certainly wouldn't put 80% of my decision making based on fundamentals, but you would have to check them. Let's see how far we have to go before we start to worry about things. And then I am tuning out, ladies and gents, by the way. So we've already done the 618 golden pocket retrace off the back of this high up there on the wick. Let's just look at this from a body to body point of view for just now, because the wick to wick one is giving you that impression. No, I'm not using fib levels based on log scale. Now I am. Those were based on the normal scale, so the absolute one, so the prices that you'd be looking for. Okay, in this sense that leaves us there. Maybe I should have done that on our other one. Should have done that on the other one. Doesn't really change things, doesn't really change things in terms of the 5,000% move and everything else. There we go. There we've had the 618 golden pocket and retrace. So if we don't push past that zone, that's not so good in terms of logarithmic. Might as well give that FECL thing another go, or FCEL, just so I can show you where it is on the using logarithmic, because that would have been more fair. Now, by the way, just so you're clear, if I go on linear, it's drawn in from the right places and all those numbers make sense just in terms of linear. But in terms of log, and then not in terms of the absolute values, but in terms of its visual points, visually how that looks, essentially. Well, it's based on the y-axis, but that is what determines the visual look of the thing, and therefore it's what determines the positioning of this, and therefore I'm okay to say visually. We're at the 886. That's not the big one though. So this is the 20-year effort, and we're above the 236 on the 20-year Fibonacci. Nice. Coming to the 382. Nice. Found a potential for a turnaround, here, and also the potential to get confirmation that we could potentially go higher, and then give you an easier low risk management trade opportunity. Nice. If we did go up to the next level, that's 32. Nice. That's 300% up from where we are now, depending on when you got into this thing. Ish. The 200 symbol's been retested here so far. So yeah, cool. Staying above 990, very, very good. All opportunities down to 990 are buy opportunities to be able to take profit at 32. And it makes a lot of sense. Looking over here, we can see that this $9.50 area was where we found this drop before we did that 200% rise up over there. So that's interesting. That's all very I have on here, because I've got some drawings that are like relevant to right now. Or do I? Seemingly not. I thought I had. Did I not draw out like a channel earlier on and talk about it? What chart did I do that on? Blech. No. No. Whatever. I suppose maybe I wouldn't be able to see it on the 50-minute. Don't know what that's all about. Here's the 50-minute time frame. Anyway, we were up there close to them. You're right, that was 36500 pretty much, but didn't do it. Pulled away since. What have we got here? Got that class we've got that divergence, you've got that bearish divergence here just between these 2 points on the RSI, then you know what, then that means that you need to take out this area in the RSI, of course, because that would give you your swing failure, and then you'd be looking at pulling down the way. And of course, if we took out that in terms of price action, that's structurally important. So 35k, you know, 34,500 represents a very important zone for us, and it's no real surprise to see that that's where we found our support at when we had that pullback from our previous, at that stage, all-time high, close enough to at 36,000 to drop down to 34,300, where, you know, that's what important is for now, is that previous area. Doing good though. This bearish divergence is not ideal, but whatever, so long as we stay above 35,847. Drop down below 35,847, so knock off $400 from where we are right now. Things look like then they could go down and try for another one of these, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 coming in, and then you'll be looking down towards 34,800, you know. So if we drop $400, there's a decent trade opportunity for another $1,000 off of that. You know, that's your short side of things. In terms of your long side of things, let's just be very, let's just say, like, you know, looking up towards the 1618 for our next high, 36,800. But the next one up there, 38,000, you know, 37,500 to 38,000 would be your next profit taking target. Whew. Yeah, cool. Next one. So let's just see. Thunder, lol, great. It's nice to see you having a good laugh with trade spot in there. Silver miners will do very well. I'm not sure I catch the reference to that one, but that's pretty good. I'm sure they will. Lol, yeah, fundamentals are great for keeping your job. Wasn't me, boss. Fundamentals said go. I've only lost my arse on silver miners this year, but I agree, now is the time. Silver's a good one. What have we got? I know Nugget for gold and stuff like that, but what are we looking at in terms of silver miners? Here's a silver chart. Whew. Likes a gap on the 15. Well, I suppose it does, because it opens and closes, doesn't it? So it would do. Well done, silver. Doing well there. Turnaround here could give you a bit of hidden bearish divergence, which you wouldn't want to see. So if we did have a turnaround here and took out the 200 simples, if we turned around here and then took out $20, then that would stink, and you'd be looking at the potential for a pullback as a target, for instance, down towards $17. Oh, that's moving 5 to get 3. Hardly seems particularly great, but if you wanted to trade between those zones, then essentially taking out 23.50 means that going down to 21 is absolutely reasonable, at which point you could leave some profit on the table for you to scoop up later on at these targets, you know, increasing, you know, your final 25%, representing 50% of the profits that you make on a trade, sort of idea. So you could do that from around these zones if we don't actually manage to take out the previous highs, and the previous highs coming in here around about 27. So you're looking at a 10% move towards the top side to burn off the potential for divergences, or for, you know, the potential for this to just sit, well, 10% move to burn off this is the potential for hidden bearish divergence is real. 10% move would result in any sort of divergences that we're seeing here also not being the case, but whatever. We don't have a real good strength of trend yet, but if we did that 10% move, I think it would position it so that we did have it, and we'd be for that to be the case. So if that were the case, and you roughly around that area to roughly around that area, 23 would offer us your decent buy point on it, coming in here at the 36 period moving exponential moving average, roughly on the 24-hour time frame for a cup with handle move, if that would be the case, as a continuation pattern here. It's not perfect, but it's okay, and it works. It's just that this lip isn't correct. But if you're drawing the lip between these 2 points here, then sure. So then no more, we don't want to see it moving past that zone, you know. 24 down to 23, that's okay, but if it goes past that, then it's crap. And again, that ties in with the analysis we had before in terms of the Fibonacci, you know, taking out 236, yada yada, gives you that move potential down the way. Why am I even talking about this? I said I was going to go. Energy Fuels Inc. Oh, for fuck's sake, I read it wrong. or you typed it wrong the first time round, or whatever. All the U's, baby, all the U's. Give me the 24. That's been good, huh? It's one of those crosses where we didn't get a retest of it, and again, it's moved so far on beyond it that it becomes unbelievable to think that you'd drop 50% down to touch that 50 just to simply see that we had a proper cross back then. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to happen, just like nothing has to happen in the world of, nothing has to happen ever, essentially, really, for that to be the case. You know, cross here when the prices were up here, and it would have seemed unbelievable too. Just for context, when the prices were coming up, this way, and it looked like they were going to cross there, and then we saw that they did cross. That move down the way back down there towards that would have seemed like crazy and unbelievable. It was a 20% drop off. It certainly wasn't that crazy or unbelievable. And so that would be a lot. 37, it's not 50% though. Doing well. So to take it from its March lows as well. See, it had its March lows, by the way, 4 or 5 days after Bitcoin started rising up again. Again, when everybody was trading, who, you know, was wanting to go into a risk on asset, the chance to know that risk on assets were there. Bitcoin isn't a safe haven asset. It's not. It's a risk on asset, and what we've seen in the markets has been this sort of thing in general with regard to risk over the last, you know, since over the last majority of last year, since the pandemic. We've seen that attitude to risk be insatiable, I should say, and this is what we're, you know, and we're seeing rises up like this, which come in at 488%, is not being, you know, super uncommon. So like Bitcoin isn't some safe haven. That's not what's going on. When you talk about it's a hedge against inflation or whatever, then it's a bit preposterous. And when you hear people like former hedge fund managers or JP Morgan vice presidents or anybody talking about it as being like a hedge against inflation, etc., etc., you know, they're talking out their arse at the minute when you're looking at certain stocks having done similar sorts of things. And you gotta wonder why. I mean, why? What are they missing in their lives? I mean, this is what I do in my life, and I like it. Why does he want to change what his life is to be like mine? He should fuck off, is my opinion when it comes to those people saying all those things. Or else they should be in the world genuinely, legitimately, and be authentic and genuine with people instead of not being. It's my opinion. That's why I'm so authentic. Buy the rumor, sell the news, etc., etc., etc. Good tip, Nav. BTC testing all-time high again. That's cool. Then I got the ticker, whatever. Yeah, says Nav and Ethan. I used to. Where is it? Because I scrolled away. Gosh darn it. Where is it? God, there's been so much chat since then. Where's me looking to wrap up? Hey everyone. Hey Kevin, by the way, good to have that. How to have you here. That's what I meant by good to have that. Crypto market could be 1 trillion by morning. Well, it was 1 trillion earlier on today. I thought we hit 1 trillion and backed away. Oh look, no, I can see it here on down the right, the day's range. We got up as high as it. Yeah, we did. Why is it not showing up on the charts then? Do you see what I'm looking at down here on the mouse? It says we were at 1 trillion today already, but the charts says 982. So I don't know. You can tell me what that means. I wanted to read that comment that Nav and Ethan put in, but I've missed it. I was so heavy on fundamentals for predicting price action. Yes. Doesn't even matter most of the time unless it is something drastic. Yeah, totally. That's what I was talking about. When that went down to 12 cents or like 17 cents, then down to 12 cents or whatever, then you're looking at fundamentals, aren't you? you can see that over 80% of the time you don't even really need to look at fundamentals for any investment that you're going to make, given that, especially then when you consider that the majority of them are priced into the market by all the people who are wasting their time doing that for you anyway. So you've basically outsourced it all the time. Anyway, to the markets, woo. But anyway, some people will say other stuff, and some people are so disparaging about technical analysis, but I think it's because it scares them. Very true, Navanethan. Fundamentals are rare in crypto, mostly a comparative exercise. That's where value lies at the minute for comparing on-chain fundamentals of DeFi projects. Yeah, exactly. Are you talking network? Oh no, it was the other chat. Then what we saw here is I just want 10% of 90% of people's money. I'm not a greedy person. Thunder, you're greedy. It's funny. I like getting away from crypto charts every now and again. Thanks, Rocky. Yeah, cool. Nice one. That's quality. That's yeah. It's nice to have a palate cleanser, right? And to remember that what we're doing here is trading, and it's not that we're out being sort of evangelical about projects which have yet to necessarily prove their mustard. That what we're really doing is trading, and looking to improve our lives and the lives of the people around us that we love and our family and friends. That's what we want, and we're trading, so we can look at normal charts too, instead of sort of being stuck in a corner. I got here late because I had to take my mother to her doctor's appointment. I missed out on a lot. See, that's more important. That's more important than being here, Kevin. So it's good. And I hope your mum's well. My top profit targets on RSR mostly hit apart from one at 0.6. What, has RSR gone up even more today? SR. It's in the game. Now, well, look at that candle. This is 12-hour time frame. Lows, 37. Highs, 45. Right now, 40. Doing okay. Wow. Good. There's 50 simple here, operating support for us on the 1 hour. Is that a bit rich? Yeah, it's a bit rich. Let's call it the 200 on the 4 hour or something like that instead, or whatever. No, the other way around. Whatever. I just did my math wrong again. God. Cool. That's looking good. It's looking good. It's a good chart. Yeah, there's divergence on the go though. There's divergence on the go. What would we need to do to cast off that divergence? Go above those two lines there. Why on earth they're like that on the chart, I've got no idea. Well, I've got a few ideas. Wow, what a rise recently. Yeah, so we're getting a bit of little divergence in here between this section where we've gone mental. Could we then see pullbacks? Yes, we absolutely could. Something to be aware of, but let's just bear this in mind in terms of structure. Staying above this 18-period exponential moving average here in the 4-hour time frame, for instance, gives us a nice analog for our last high. And that's what we need to see in terms of just kind of going up and up and up. It's not what we need to see, sorry, what we need to see is it staying above 29. But it's staying in anywhere in the 30s, it's just simply coming in as a higher low overall so far, and that's pretty dandy, and I'm happy enough to see that happen. At the minute we're doing well. It's a lovely coin. Well done for the TA you did the other day during the live stream, by the way. Trade spotting, for having told people about this one. That was another one that was decent for folk to be aware of. Yeah, if we see this break in structure, I'm just going to look to price action as my number one on this one. A little bit of a diminish in volume as we've come up towards these highs, but nobody really knows what this thing's priced at. It's relatively nascent compared to the rest of the crypto market, I suppose, and it's had a massive rise recently. Going back over to here, you can see that it was down at 1 cent. Now it's at 4 cents. So it's a 400% rise since 20th, since December, since last year. So since the one that's just went by, since Christmas time. So we've had 400% since Christmas time. Very, very good. Outstripping Bitcoin, I would say, by a good degree, really. Yeah, look at that. Since the turn of the year, this has been a far better investment than Bitcoin, crazy enough. 4-hour time frame, got the golden cross about to happen. Could we get a retest of it? If we did, then that would be drop off in price or so. 24-hour time frame, not got enough history yet for a 200 period, but we do have it on the 12-hour time frame, so we're almost there. This is going to come in for a golden cross soon. That's good. A lot of this downward price action has been without the divergence, so that kind of sucks, but we did it turn around structurally though. Even though we've had these great big rises up, we're still not taking out our previous highs, and before we go above 130 it's not amazing. But anyway,
I had shepherd's pie for dinner yesterday, says 3000 Trent. That's a great idea. Good one. I'm so proud of you. What's your fave shepherd's pie? That's an interesting question. I like to put a bit of ketchup in with mine when I'm cooking it, sort of all that. And yeah, I do prefer shepherd's pie, I think, with lamb as in shepherd, but I probably more often than not would eat cottage pie. I quite like to make if I had to, my favourite one would probably be a vegan version of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I got one ready to pop for you, Rocky. Check out Lith. Oh, you're right. Okay, that's it. Pot pies only, says Naff and Ethan. How the fuck does a pot pie work? Would that be some form of quiche? Mexican Kitchen said quiche earlier on, so maybe you could get it in there. How would you make a pot pie? I get that it's a pun and all the rest of it, but I wonder how that would actually work. Pot pie is really giving me an appetite. What did you say, Lith? Right, look, this is it. 3000 Trent. This is it. I'm going to have to go after this one because what are we talking here? 22:57. I've got no idea how long I've been streaming for because my timer keeps resetting because of the broadband issues, but I'm assuming I've been streaming for quite a while. It feels like quite a while. It must be quite a while. It's got to be quite a while. It's got to be at least an hour. It was 2 hours, right? I've been streaming for 2 hours. Lith, Lith. What songs was it? That was the Lithium by Nirvana is one of my favorite Nirvana songs. What is Lith anyway? Are we talking about Lithium Chili or Lithium Chile? Lithium Chili Inc. Or are we talking about? Is there some sort of? No, there isn't. So it's a real world thing from the real world. Let's go check out one of these lithium ones. Now there's a few different lithiums. I doubt you're trading on the Canadian market. I don't think you're Canadian. But then again, it must be one of these. I'm actually just going to wait for you to tell me what it was. Check it later. No, don't do it then. You taketh and you giveth away, or whatever. Is this the one? Let me know what it was. US Lith Core. US Core. What is I want to put on that song by Nirvana right now because I know it's one of my favorite ones, but I'm struggling to think of it. It's like when you're thinking of music, when you're listening, trying to remember a song, even when you really, really like it, but you've got the radio on and you can hear another song in the background. That's kind of the same sort of brain fart that you have when you're doing live streams. Same sort of brain fart you have when you're doing live streams. US Lithium Corp. Give me that lithium. Have you got enough lithium? I want some of that lithium. Not the dilithium that they use in Star Trek. This is just single lithium, not dilithium. Monolithium. No, it's not monolithium either because it's not some sort of metallic stone. Maybe it is though. I wonder. Monolithium. I like it. That's my new thing. Is this just what are we looking at this for? Is this an opportunity waiting to pop? I saw the other lithium corp had a good like they'd done well recently. So there's that. We've got this downward slope on here. The risk that you're taking on with any trades in this zone. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You'd have to be justifying it to your boss with the old fundamentals and whatnot, because one day to the next, like that candle down to its bottom candle's 35%. You're getting a 35% move every single day. Fudge me. I mean, you could trade this thing, but imagine you got in here on the 7th of December and you're still holding on to your position here, having never once traded in and out of it, and you're talking about 30% moves every single day. Your boss coming over, how's that lithium trade you got there, pal? Oh, it's good. We got in at 23 and then the prices went down a bit, but we're back at 23 again. Oh, great. Oh, the prices went down a bit, but we're back at 23 again. Oh, great. The prices went down a bit. No, they fucking did it. They went down a lot. Asswipe. Why are you not trading this properly? Well, because I got into trading from crypto and I actually started off as a hodler, and I realized that if I just hodled my crypto, I'd do far better than I would if I traded it. So I decided I'd buy it and then hodl it. That's what I did. How you even wanted to chart this thing? I mean, it's like an opportunity waiting to pop. I would be taking the money off the table though constantly with this one. This is great. There's millions. That sounds like a good idea. Should we all do that? When pullback on BTC, says Navan Ethan. When pullback? Well, timing wise, it's going to be difficult to make an assessment of it, but from the most sort of ready answer and realistic ready answer for you that comes in is we see the pullback kicking in when we go past 34,500 is and then an open and close below it. Then we start to get pullbacks down the way for chunks of a couple of thousand at a time, and that's when we see pullback in terms of not answering by saying when but perhaps how. That's like kind of how pullback. Today we already had one. That's the thing. Like, that's what you're talking about when you've got a candle. That's the range of the candle today is 6.5%, but we know fine well that it went down and up 7.5 in the space of 15 minutes earlier on. Right, Mexican Kitchen said, I hope now my short's still open. Oh, cool. Dude, look at all that volume. You're tripping. Am I tripping? I must be. It's so good. It's a good marker. I agree with the sentiment. Lady shot in Washington, D.C. Sad face. Oh, God, not more of it. Really? Right, I'll check out the news after this, but I hear that there's been some real bad news today. I want to send out a personal message to every single person watching this channel right now that I think about you all the time, and I send out good vibes and everything else to every single last person. If I've read your name off of that chat box in the past, or indeed a comment, or met you in the Discord, in fact, if I've not made the association, then you may be getting two sets of sort of good feelings. I send out good feelings to my community. It's one of my services that I offer, so you all get for free. It's one of the things that I do just for people. I know it costs me a great lot, but I do it for people anyway, at the generosity of my heart. Yeah, every day I think about you guys out there, and I wish you all the best, and always hope that you've got good trades and good stuff like that. It'd be so shocking if one day I tuned in and I found out that one of you guys had a problem out there. I think we're all safe. I certainly, karmic, exactly. I put out some of that good karma for all you as a try. You can only distribute it among so many people, so I do it for the people, my direct personal sort of IRL, if you like, and then every single one of you guys who are as close to me as this cup. See how close you are. What do you think is going to be in those future cars? Lithium batteries. Well, that's it, man. It's lithium. I mean, that's what I meant. I had my tongue in cheek, earlier on when I was saying that Duracell was kicking the shit out of lithium for when I was talking about a company that doesn't really even do. Who knows? But yeah, exactly. Lithium, man. It's where it's at. Lithium used to just be for keeping schizophrenics in check. Nowadays, it powers the world. Who'd have thunk it? Well done, everybody, not getting involved in the nonsense in somewhere, whatever's going on. You're always better at home taking care of you and yours. Indeed. Democrats been protesting, killing, destroying crap for 4 years, and Republicans do it once. The world is ending. Hypocritical media. I think the people on the ground are the ones that have got like the real perspective on things. Like media is going to put out a story to influence everybody who isn't around, right, and all the rest of it. I'd be much more interested in knowing the personal stories of people. I don't give a crap what people's affiliations are politically. Really. Brah, we have something here called Caramilk in Canada. It's delicious. With a name like Caramilk, it must be amazing. I'm thinking Mars drink, but without the chocolate part. Here we are, trying again. 36,379. Can we do it, ladies and gents? It doesn't take much of a push past these points to bring us up to 1 trilliones if you want to add an extra digit onto this already ridiculously large number. It's so funny how it goes right down to the last one and tries to update like constantly. Like, why bother, mate? I'm not looking at that. I can't digest this number by the time it's changed. So anyway, yeah, 98, 97. Oh my god, disaster. Right, that's it. It's all over. That's it. Let's panic sale. Who wants mine? 10% off. 10% off for mine now. Just have to take it off my hands right this second. Caramac, I read. Have you ever had Caramac before? Caramac's one of those ones that is like the first bite best bite of any bit of chocolate you've had in years. The second bite, you're still living off that initial bite high. You don't really feel anything. You're just riding that wave. The third bite, you're thinking, wait a minute, what is this flavor? And by the fourth and fifth bite, you're starting to think, am I going to throw up? Maybe I'm going to throw up. I don't know. It's great though. I love it. Buon Notte, good and knack. Goes to show how long we've been streaming now as well, I suppose. On the 50-minute time frame on the oscillator down below over here, we just had this experience where it got telling us there's going to be some volatility. We had our highs, then we went down to our lows, and then immediately back to where our highs were again, as is so often the case after you see something like that popping up, and then we've gone up a little bit more, and that happened in it around about the same sort of time as we see this alleged high of $1 trillion, which we have already hit, but it's not wanting to show me it for whatever reason. Don't know why the charts don't go up as high as the all-time high on the day's range, but there you go. They did earlier on when I was looking the first time or something. I'm confused now, but we saw this big effect here, and as well, and we talked about the Bitcoin dominance chart as well during that period, and everything else kind of, that's the CME charts. God, I just did the same mistake again. Then the Bitcoin dominance chart here during that period as well, and we tied everything together, and kind of, the question at the minute is like, what's the biggest resistance in a sense? Is this sort of notion, and it's a fairly nominal notion really, to be honest, it's fairly arbitrary, of a $1 trillion meaning something, and of course nobody's really looking at that, but is this having a sort of algorithmic effect, on something where people are thinking, well, hey, is it time to take some profit off the table, regardless of what you're trading within this overall industry or not? I don't think it's that big a deal. If we move past $1 trillion, then it wouldn't be long before we went up a whole bunch more, and that would be nice to see. I think that it does kind of daunt people, that idea though, and that's kind of interesting. I'd rather see this number stay high at around $1 trillion, and see the Bitcoin price in itself drop itself, so that we can see an alt season of some sort happen, just for the sort of the shits and giggles of it all, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I would rather not overall see Ethereum and Bitcoin be what lead us up to $1 trillion, as we continue to see effects out there such as an overall downward trend in the pairings between those coins, such as Bitcoin there versus Tezos, and Ethereum versus Tezos, where we had this big drawdown since over there in this at the start of the year, in the most recent highs. So I'd like to see that kind of come to a natural end, and if that means, but it's not just purely led off the back of Bitcoin and Ethereum, that would be ideal in my mind. But I'm open to anything. It doesn't really matter overall, but it's just that I'd like to see that happen for the likes of that one, the Algo BTC chat that we had earlier on, etc., and all of the other coins that we have here on the list. We're seeing things like LRC, which is down 21% today. It's performing really, really crappily and continues to perform crappily. I tried shorting this myself at 55, whenever I was on the versus the dollars, and I stopped out a couple of times and left it, and then come back to find that it would have, if I hadn't stopped out, yada yada, these things happen. But we're seeing other ones like Stellar with a big rise up. Is that going to last, or is that just bullshit? Because it smells like bullshit to me, but we'll see. Hot is not really worth looking at, because there's its chart there. It's ridiculous. And we've got various other coins that have done well versus Bitcoin today. Can we see this continue and get a bit of a trend on the go, or is it, or are other things from we've got the likes of Ethereum Classic, and there an old one, BLZ, which did really well in the summertime. Did really well in the summertime, did it not? Whatever. Yeah. But did really well in the summer. Did shit in the summertime. What am I talking about? This is the 15-minute chart, so struggling to find summertime on that one, obviously. But what we can see here is on the 24-hour time frame, when it loads up, yeah, we've done really, 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 really badly since the summertime, which is what I was trying to get at. Will we see a turnaround on this eventually or not? This is, every single chart versus Bitcoin is essentially disgusting. So I would like to see us getting a decent rise up the way that see some dollars actually coming into the market. Final point is that for the market price cap to go up, all it takes is for the prices to change and for one person to make a transaction. So just for you to know, in a world of ceteris paribus, if somebody were to sell a Bitcoin at, or not even that, just sell $1 worth of Bitcoin, at the price it is right now is 36,394, and then no transactions happened whatsoever, and that same person who sold his Bitcoin then bought it back at a higher price. So there's been no new money into the market whatsoever, and they bought it back at 40,000, just saying that the market just jumped up by that much. And it was the one person that sold and the one person to buy, them. And then subsequently house prices have gone up and up and up and up and up. And the likes of Amazon and Apple and every other company, Facebook and Microsoft and Google and everything, going up 1,000 times worth more than what they were at their peaks in the bubble, despite then losing 80% or more of their value. Lots of them going bust. So that's the difference between the illusion and the reality. And what I want to see is that be spread out across the markets a bit more, instead of people shuffling around their money. And when we see things like the market going up to $1 trillion, snapping back down and snapping back up again, well, we see the market, the Bitcoin dominance going up in a smoother line, and every single individual coin having its own snap down and up again. It really goes to show you just how much this market is operated on a degree of where the sells are happening at, and not so much where the buys, or it depends on the semantics of it, but you get the point that I'm making. At it's not that Bitcoin price must go up because so much more money has entered the market. It's simply that Bitcoin price has gone up because the prices have gone up, that people have sold it at higher prices, and it's got very little to do with how much has come into the market necessarily, and how are we going to mitigate against that. And that's what I'd have preferred to see. However, if it doesn't happen, I'm ambivalent overall and don't really give too many shits about it. That's my final note. Here's the 15-minute chart. I am going to tune out now, no matter what 3000 Trend asked me to take a look at. 15-minute chart here. Zooming on in. Hiya, Coco. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Do you want to say hi? Nope. I want to say hi. Just hit $1 trillion market cap. Cheers, Kevin. Excellent. So it only had to happen when I looked away, didn't it? Then it had to happen when I looked away. Is it going to show up on this thing? I'm looking at the wrong chart. What one are you looking at? I bet you there's another one. Total 2, but that's excluding Bitcoin. Others. Let's go for total 2 and just see what it's doing. Is that at this price? Woof, down. 288, 305. It lost such a massive amount in seconds. Does this represent what I was saying here? Is in this decline here, does it represent money leaving the market? Did 5% of money leave the market? Did $16 billion leave the market during that period of time? Not at all. Just simply somebody sold something at that price, somebody bought something at that price, somebody sold something at that price, and that's it. No more money, or no less money. So I want to see is obviously this thing go towards the top side, but I also want to see not just these coins inflate their prices up, because what we're looking at here is essentially inflation, because inflation is just when something goes up. From an economic sort of perspective, or deflation, whatever. Hiya. Alright, cool. Thanks, Rocky. Thanks to today's one as well. Yeah, you're welcome. Everybody, you're welcome. Right, mutual levels to all he is. I'm going to tune out now. Bye, MGS, said Thunder. So I'll just run through I'll just do a quick reverse roll call. Thunder, by the way, if you're new here, let me know. If you're not, then I'm sorry for not having given you many shout outs in the past. It's cool to have people here, but if you're new, that's great. CoinGecko's showing $1 trillion. Yeah, I know, and so does gosh darn TradingView. It shows it down here in the day's range and doesn't show up there on the chart itself. Annoying, isn't it? Yeah, thanks everybody. That's it. Thanks everybody. Yeah, so cool. I'm going to just do the reverse roll call. Get whoever spoke in the last 200 messages on the screen here gets a shout out from me as a tune out on the show, unless Coco turns off the computer here, which she's often likes to do because he likes pushing the bright coloured buttons. What can you do? Right, cool. So nice, Kevin. Great. You gave us 3,000. You gave us the trillion shout out. Navanethan, thanks so much. It's brilliant to have you here. It's the Diddy to the Biggie. Quality. Trace One, yes, you deserve many shout outs, and you will always get them because you did such a great job as ever with that spanner. Thunderbug Creative. Like I say, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to. This is the friendliest crypto community. I mean, I feel pretty confident saying that. I'm pretty sure it is. Everybody here seems really wonderful. Even after that 7k dip, people don't want to be patient. Lol. Moon season. Yeah, totally. Says Navanethan earlier on. We also had Zoner coming in for some chat as ever. He's always got some chat. It's good to have you here, buddy. I'll be reading in the chat after I put the episode out. I'll read back through the chat as well, so I get to read all your messages. So you don't it's not, nothing goes unmentioned here. Dvorka's laughed in, haha, Karamak truths. Yeah, that's the thing with Karamak. It's messed up. It's great though. Mexican Kitchen, Salamat Malam Mickey. I get that. That sounds to me like one of those languages. What are we talking here? Salamat Malam Mickey. That sounds like Hebrew. It actually sounds like what's that one that they speak in the Arabic? Whoops. But I don't know. It's got that sort of ring to it of Hebrew. Nicola been getting hammering. Has it? Says Trace One. This is my Cheerio session, and here I am looking up a new chart. I'll just let it do its thing in the background. In fact, I'll pop it up there. It's been getting a bit of a hammering. 772 down to 760. It's still up on the day. Right, okay, going back up the way. Kevin again, thank you so much. Dvorkas again, yes, thank you so much. Michael John Scott, our friend John, thank you so much. Again, yes, as well. I do honestly send out that karmic nonsense, even if it doesn't work. Gank L, good to have you back again with your name. That merely makes me wonder. Good to see you again, my buddy. 3000 Trin, fantastic to have had you here again today as well. Mexican Kitchen, muchísimas gracias. Juntarnos para este live stream, mi amigo. Great. Gank again, reading that name out twice there, so good. I read it twice. Thunderbug again, so good. I read it twice. Looking up the way, who I missed here. I want to give people a miss. 3000 Trin, great. Oh yes, there's one. Ahmad Gaza, buy XRP, target $5. Rocket, and all the rest of it. Yeah, good one. There's some good stuff. Trace One, extra cheese on your tacos for the SNX entry. Nice one, quality. I'm so glad that worked out. Extra cheese, excellent stuff. Love that. Yeah, people need to be transferring more of it to me. I wonder what you were talking about at that point, but yeah, I agree. They should transfer it over to him. Yeah, great. So what else? Who else have I missed? There must be a couple of people in here that I've missed in terms of the reverse roll call, but I'm getting back up through the last 200 messages and I'm not seeing it right here right now. Uppers, hey, there's another one. Uppers, good to have you. Zoner probably said hey to you earlier on a few times, in the reverse roll call. But that's it. That's cool. So that's it. That's the last 200 messages in chat that people have put out there and all the rest of it. I'll be back again on Friday this week and maybe for the rest of this month or whatever, as I'm trying to gear up towards doing to having a decent Patreon set up there, so that people come along and say, could you give me a wee lesson on the X, Y, and Z, can get access to it through the Patreon. And I kind of, to avoid burnout, I've had to scale back slightly in terms of what I'm doing. But I do intend, as I look at the wrong place of the camera, I do intend on coming back again and in the same form and everything else as what we've had recently. I just want to avoid burnout. I can tell, having worked for myself for the last more than a decade, when I get close to burnout, and well, to be perfectly honest with you, when I really should have made that realization a couple of months earlier, and when things are getting a bit sketchy. But I tell you what, I'm just so happy to be here that I couldn't really stop doing them when I started as well. Once you pop, you can't stop, and that's what happens with me. As I really kind of just, became so enamored with the Rocky Outcrop community and getting to talk to you live, I just thought, wow, this is just so fantastic, and it took over all of my consciousness. Well, anyway, I need to dedicate some time to other things, and I'm going to try and do that at the minute in a way which is a little bit of a sacrifice to the schedule, but I think will avoid any sort of problems, and then of course let me kind of continue as strong as ever without ever having to kind of take any extra step or any of that sort of stuff. So that's the current situation, and I'll always keep you informed about that as we go go along the way. I hopefully will then get out some sort of static videos tomorrow, just a quick look at the price action, instead of this sort of thing. As you can imagine, it's been 2.5 hours or whatever this stream has been, so long enough, in terms of the workload. But actually I tend to put in a similar amount of work when it comes to doing the other videos anyway, and all that. So it's just off camera, and I will do that if I can have the time to do it tomorrow, depending on various factors, but you'll see them pop up on your thing. Otherwise, oh wait, I missed Jacob. I missed Jacob. Pardon, sorry Jacob, I didn't mean that. Artie Pyle, by the way, I missed you on the thingy. We've got Mamba for Life asking, can I take a look at Zill? Sorry, I'm just tuning out. It's hard, it's hard. My temptation is to say yes, I want to, but I'm going to have to prevent myself from doing that. In future, if you tune into the live stream and ask me earlier on, then I'll probably get around to it. Donations, subscriptions, and all the rest of it are appreciated, by the way, not just because of sort of like the fact that it's appreciated for money wise, but if you look at right on top of my face right now, you can see here on the live stream the top 5. I've got the numbers written in wrong, 1 2 3 4 4, but whatever. The top 5 donators to the channel, and this is all in the last month really, and that you've got £101, £100, $62, $55, $50, that sort of thing. This is that people feel like just donating to the channel because I've helped them and they like it and whatever else, and they want me to feel encouraged to keep going. To be perfectly frank with you, people tuning in and just asking for coins without even saying hello to anybody else in the group or being a part of the community, it has the opposite effect with but I still want to do it, so I have to consciously avoid doing that right now. But just so you know, if you want to fast track your way into my good book so that I am inclined to do it, then there's various methods for doing that along the lines of stuff that'll help support the channel, which I'm running as a business now, by the way. So when I look to things like getting a new microphone or getting a better camera or any of that sort of stuff, instead of doing it out of my own pocket, which I have been doing throughout the year with regards to all the stuff I've done for the channel, I'm now going to try and make it run like a business, so it has to just pay for itself, and in which case, since YouTube gives me literally nothing, almost nothing for doing these videos, like literally almost nothing, that means that that means it's going to be through Patreon subscriptions and all the rest of it. So obviously I'm out there every day trying to provide that value. People coming in like Mamba for Life asking, can you look at Zill in capital letters? I haven't just said can you look at Zill before without saying I'd end up doing it anyway, but there will come a point where I make it so that it's like members only in the chat here. If I want to do that, I'll make a new level, by the way, like a really cheap level, like the 199 level or whatever, so that if you want to talk in the live streams, then you need to be a member of the channel. I'd prefer that the donations and all the rest of it came through other sources, because YouTube takes 30%, so that's a significant amount that they take there. So but maybe I'll do that, and all the rest of it. Anyway, it's not about me, it's about the community, and I want the community to know that that there's really good value here, and for the community to grow, and for me to be able to do that, then things like people donating to the channel and that coming up live on camera, which hasn't happened in this stream, by the way, then make it so that people who tune in get to see that there's real value here, so people know that this is a real thing. I've genuinely believe that I put the best, no comparison, my genuine belief. Now of course it could be that I'm wrong, in which case that's fine, but it's not for lack of looking around. I genuinely believe that the TA you get on this channel is second to none on the internet, and it just so happens to be an informal, fun, entertaining venue on YouTube done like this, so it doesn't come with all, and you've got people joking about what I should be wearing and stuff like that, so you've got that happening, but there isn't anything that's even remotely close to it, and it's cost me so much doing this channel this year that this needs to start kind of making it so it's financially worthwhile doing it. Otherwise I just spend 2.5 hours trading, and I don't know what I mean, like coronavirus will end soon, and it'll be like, would I rather go out on a date tonight? Would I rather take an hour to do some trading and then take the money from that and go and spend it on a girl at a nightclub, or sit there and put out information which is like hugely valuable, helping people make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for nothing, for no reason? which one? So, at a certain point it gets a bit... Anyway, it's all good, and there you have somebody who's one of those very same people saying best value on YouTube, who is the second top all-time donator. And that just puts your sort of comment Mamba for life into context, which you put in there as I was going through a reverse roll call to give everybody an individual shout out, because I really, I have so much respect for the audience and the community here. So that's what we're at. And I do genuinely believe as well that good communities is a top-down thing. So I have to be out there flying a flag for a certain degree of, respect that people have for each other. And I'm a part of the community too, so it's, for me too. And the whole thing, the dynamic that exists, I genuinely believe that the culture and communities comes from a top-down level, as much as it does from the people within the communities themselves as individuals. So I have this big responsibility here to really call out people who would otherwise, take the community for granted, because like I say, I could be close to getting burnt out right now if I want to up my game, which I do, and I've done it several times throughout the year, because I started off and I was doing videos like whatever, then everybody who's watched the channel knows that I've evolved, and every time I've done it I've had to do this extra workload. So I want to be able to do that without burning out, and here we are. So that's just the scenario that we're at, and whatever. If you build it, they will come, says 3000. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's my explanation for it. Everybody in the community already knows and everything else, and that's what I want. I mean, I do have a target in mind. My target is $68,000 per month that I want this YouTube channel to be making for me, right? Is that ridiculous or not? I'll let you decide, okay? But that is and I'm not lying, that's my genuine target. I want this YouTube channel to generate for me an income of $68,000 per month, or through all the various things like Patreon and super chats and everything else, or I'll not be happy and one day I'll stop doing it, right? Okay, so we're quite a distance away from that target at the minute. We really are. But within the next 2 years, the channel will get there, and it'll get there through the support of every single last one of you. So this is why I am so committed to this community right now, when we're still, a year into the channel, but still very much a nascent stage of the channel, looking forward to the next couple of years and thinking how this is going to become the #1 crypto community out there, and for more than just the quality of the technical analysis, which I endeavor to always make and sustain the levels of the best on YouTube. And I thoroughly believe that that's the case. Whether I'm full of hubris and a moron or not, I don't know. I can accept that I'm a human being, so I'm exposed to those dangers, but that's my belief system, and my target is $68,000. And whether you think that's crazy or not, it's just what Mitch Ray makes on his Patreon donations every month. That's it. It's not what he gets from advertising or donations on his live streams. You've seen his live streams that people put on lots of donations for him, and I think, okay, well, I can produce similar quality content to that. I've got the skill set here, and I've already demonstrated to the community with a year of doing this well, and communicating wholeheartedly, genuinely, authentically. It's real me with everybody individually on a one-to-one, not scalable level, with anybody who sends me a message on Discord gets that. Oh no, that's ridiculous. Thank you for that, 3000 Trent. I wasn't talking. It's so nice of you to do that. It's so genuinely nice of you to do that. But that's what we're all about here. And if I'm open and honest about it, and you all understand that that's what the process is here, because I've had to trade for a living for a long time now, and switch up my risk-reward dynamic slightly, and have a nice, sustainable income through helping people, because I genuinely believe in the quality of the content, I think it's possible, and that it can happen, and we should do it. I think I must have covered up the box that makes that come up on screen, because I'm super disappointed I didn't see it happen. I want to hit the button again. Will it show up? Leap of faith, brother. Yes, thanks so much. Share him. I've turned several people into Rocky fans in the last week. Granted, they may be quiet, even hesitant at the moment. They discuss what they have learned. It's a matter of time before they let the guard down. I mean, that's so That's so awesome. And that's what I mean. Like, a friend of yours is a friend of mine. And if I be genuine and honest and authentic as much as I can be, then people have got got the full opportunity to think, no, you know what, I don't want to watch this guy. I don't like this guy. It's fine. And that. So, and that's why I'm 100% myself and dedicated to doing the TA as good as I can in a way that I know from experience is a successful way, and it's helped a lot of people. Like, I know it has, and it's genuine, and I don't do it for like, I didn't start off and at the same time launch some paid course at the same time or whatever, and I've shown people my back end of my YouTube, and I'll show them at any time, if you want to see it ever, what exactly the exact breakdown is of what I do and the amount of hours and everything else, and all of that. I'll show everybody everything, because this isn't my income source. But for me to then honestly say that I want to make it my main thing, so that I can turn around to some, so I can think, oh yeah, it's cool, I'll be able to put however many dollars into a college fund or into whatever for kids, or I could do whatever and have these plans in life which are not contingent on me being able to consistently produce the goods every day in my own trading account all the time, just for that portion of life. Then I think that's a fair target to have, and $68,000 a month is what I think would be worth my time to do it. And because it's genuinely worth that much, is what it is. It's worth that. That's how much it's worth, and that's what I would want to do. So that's what I'm working towards. And if I don't make it there in the next couple of years, then I'm just going to pack it all in. Even if I get to $20,000 a month, I'll probably just still pack it all in and go back to trading full time. So it's one of these two. And I don't want to. What I want is I have 1,000 good traders around me, and I'm totally open and honest about that. And we're well on the way to getting there. So, but I do think to get 1,000 really good traders, we need to have like 100,000 subscribers to the channel. Just if you think about the chances and everything else, like 70,000 subscribers probably translates to 1,000 good traders, something like that. And I think in terms of these things, like like for instance Tezos, and me saying at 196 is going to 222, and that 196 is the next area after that, and then it's going to up to 250, 258, whatever it was, or 260, whatever it was we said. And there's, basically sometimes I go a bit far, but I mean Tezos was doing nothing for days and days, and I had to, I was like, I've scraped the barrel for every single bit of value I could out of this. I'm just going to tell people the way where to make their money from, right? That's a bit much, but it's like that, right? That's what I go for. So at the end of the day, you can look back and you can think, look, it wasn't really Rocky that taught me this. It was that Rocky pointed me in the direction, and then I learned that myself. And I'm able to do this because I've got experience in teaching people for years in a variety of things to do with like business management and stuff like that. So I know that there's a way of manipulating people into thinking that they learned themselves. And the easiest way to do it is to simply just make it so they learn themselves, and that's what I've been doing. So there's no real magic there. It's every single one of you is independently fulfilling your own life goals, and I'm not doing it there. I'm just a spirit guide along the way, helping you find the right areas to focus on and stuff like that. And that's what we do here, and that's the mission. 1,000 good traders will come out of it. 68 grand a month here for my one in the next couple of years. That's what we're looking to. All the figures will be public, by the way. It's not like I'm going to hide it from you. I'll be telling you how well we're doing along the lines of those targets. But at the minute, I'm saying that I want to run this as a business, and I've got a microphone that I want to buy that costs $300, right? And I'm not going to buy that microphone until if you look at those donations there, I could already get it. That's not you get the point, right? And then I want to buy a camera that's worth like $2,000, okay? And I'm going to do these things across time, but I'm not going to do it in my own pocket anymore. I'm just not, right? I'm just going to do it through the because if it's worth what it's worth, then it's worth what it's worth, and if it isn't, then it won't happen, and that's fine, right? That's fine. Right. Anyway, much love to every single last one of you. I'll be sending out those good vibes like I said I would earlier on. That's for free, lol. So yeah, I'll be continuing to do all of that, and I'm looking forward to coming back on Friday and seeing how things have changed in the meantime from what we've been talking about. And yeah, essentially, like our next target with regards to Bitcoin is going to have to be up there at 37,500. That's what we're looking at. We're now within $1,100 of getting there, so
not a major thing away. It will be interesting to see where we are on Friday. I actually hope to see that we're back down at like 33 or 32. That would be, I think, quite nice in terms of what we're going along doing. But if we're not and we're up there, that's cool. And what I would like to see happen and how we trade the market are two completely distinct things. So I've also covered in this video not only what to look for and everything else, and what to look for if we get to those numbers, where the next areas are, and how you would find confluence and blah blah blah, did all that sort of stuff. But also I've talked about what I would like to see happen and been clear in saying that that's not how I'm trading the market. And there's lessons in all of that for everyone. Anyway, if I don't go like right this second, then who knows, I may never go. This is the Tesla chart that I have behind me. I'm going to just bring up the Bitcoin one. I'll make it full screen and I'll stick on the end and stuff, and I'll read a bit through the chat so I don't miss any of the last stuff. Nice to see everybody in there, by the way, and it's so great. For me, at least as it relates to trading, if I'm the dumbest person in the room, I'm in the right room. That's it. That's what I want. I want it to be that way, and I fully expect in the period of the next 3 years doing this channel that there will be people out there who are not as good at trading as I am, who become better at trading than I am, and they'll be in here and my friend. And it won't be because I made them better than me. Not really. They'll have done it themselves, and that's the whole idea. That's the idea, because you'll have that momentum. When you get to the point where you're as good as me, you might have got there way quicker than me, and then you might get to being twice as good as me, twice as quickly as I ever would, and then you can turn around and help a brother out, and tell me what you've learned, and that'll be amazing, and that'll only happen as a result of us doing this together. So there's various different ways I'm trying to do that, and whatever else. I'm obviously always open to communication about it. Oh, and the final thing I will say is that I got another email from Sharkcoin. People in the Discord will know who that is. They got in touch with me a while ago. They're a gambling platform. I told them that I wanted, they want me to play some video and they'll sponsor my videos and all the rest of it. Now, obviously, I don't like the idea of a gambling platform and all the rest of it, but if they're going to help us get towards that target quicker, then maybe I'll consider their sponsorship offer and be sponsored by some dodgy looking crypto gambling site. Not massively into who take it or leave it. No, the context is I was always going to be in this situation 100 days later, or a few hundred days later, more than that, and whatever. So I could have taken that money and I could have got the camera, but I didn't, right? So, and why? Because I went to the community and told them, and they said, don't do it. And I said, totally. Why would I? And and that's where we are now. So anyway, I'm always transparent with you. Gotta go. Right. How do I donate, Rocky, says Jacob Dement. The way that you do it, there's a couple of links in the description, and the crypto way is like, it says support this channel with by donating fiat, and you can do that, and it's streamlabs.com/blah blah blah, and you can donate through that. It's like PayPal, and it just does the PayPal fees. You can do it through crypto, and that's just free because it's the crypto, it's the TX fee that you have to pay for sending from crypto, and that's whatever that happens to be, nominal thing. And then you can donate through using what do you call it, super chat on YouTube, and there's like a $1 button beside the chat thing, and you just hit that and it sets up for you, and that's cool. You can do that too. You can also donate through Patreon by becoming a Patreon and just doing it on a scheduled basis and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, enough of that. By the way, none of that was me trying to shill myself. That was me just telling you just behind the scenes, behind the curtains, right? Much love, everybody. I'm going to kick myself off the screen just now and tune away out. Thank you so much, Jacob. By the way, actually, if you do donate through any of those methods, then I'll get a notification on the screen and I'll be able to replay the thingy. Just like if I do this here, that didn't show up. So I wonder why. Alert box. Right, let me give me that another roll. So 3000 trend. So that's the one that 3000 trend did earlier on. Sweet, thank you so much for that, by the way. Yet again, you got to see your name on screen properly this time. And if anybody does it, if anybody does that and I'm not on stream, then I'll replay the thing the next time I come on stream, so that it doesn't go unacknowledged, because I realized, Right. Anyway, good night, 3000 trend. Good night, Devoricus. Bitcoin again. Oh, look at it. All-time highs again. There we go. At 36,748. I better go so that any of the future targets I talked about don't actually happen live on stream. Otherwise, I'd have to come up with more and we're in a never-ending cycle.